What's up, RotoGrinders? Week 13, lucky number 13, NFL DFS, the start of 2.5+ hours nonstop NFL DFS talk. Taking y'all straight up to lock. Usual suspects, 2/3 of the Tournament Takes podcast. We got the millionaire winner, Bobby Gomes. We got, you add everything up for sure. I think. I don't know. I'm not privy, but probably at some point, Kirkwood has had himself a $1 million year or $1 million career. What's up, Kirkwood? How are it's you guys are always struggling for sleep on a Sunday, but new fathers. How are things are no different, I imagine. 10:30 on the East Coast.
Yeah, we're doing all right. A little tired from UFC went way too long last night, so I was up sweating that all night, and then try to build some lineups here, get ready for today. This is a pretty interesting slate. It's like I love a lot of spots, but it also feels pretty tough.
I like a lot of spots. I don't think I love anything. There's not anything I feel like I absolutely have to have. And I'm curious. That's kind of where I wanted to start because I feel the same way. Like we probably that's just semantics, but there's a lot of good things out there. Joe Mixon plays a late game. The presumption is, or our lean right now, according to our projection team, is we have him out. He's officially questionable with that concussion. He's not past his the last step. We'll see. Stay tuned. But as of right now, we're expecting it to be P. Ryan to step in that absence. We assume Jacobs is going to go. Well, we shouldn't say it. He's currently questionable. Jacobs, of course, absolutely annihilated, smashed, whatever adds of your choice of the slate last week. I think he 2x'd the second best running back last week. ETN expected to play. We're expected to get both Denver receivers, Sutton and Judy. Debo, there was some optimism on Debo Samuel. I thought he was not going to play as of Friday, but it appears like he's turned the corner. We'll see. Stay tuned on that one. That's also a late game. Then I mentioned Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase expected back tonight. I think he's got a better price on DK than he does on FanDuel. FanDuel wants to basically charge you full price. Bobby, did you, we're going to, let's have that, just we'll have a conversation in regards to the slate, whatever the chat wants to talk about, by all means. Going to keep an eye on the chat. What's up, chat? Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. We appreciate all that. And join the show. Why aren't we talking about so-and-so? We'll throw them out there. And if it's pertinent to the conversation, I'll do my best to work it in. Bobby, how do you feel about as far as the slate? Because, there's 3 totals hovering around 50 that are going to be pretty popular. A lot of good plays, but I don't know if there's any amazing, must-have. Man, I can't imagine if I don't have X in this lineup.
Yeah, no, for me, it's just backloading a ton. I think that the running back position is absolutely loaded, and it's really hard to kind of condense your player pool in MME because there's so many plays that I think are relevant just based on matchup and stuff like that. So that's where I'm kind of at right now. Quarterbacks, I think, I'm pretty much fine with. I know my stacks. I know who I'm playing. It's the running back position where I'm having issues. So,
well, there's no Tom Brady this week. So
there's no Brady, but there is another former Patriot.
Who needs Brady when we got Jimmy G? That's what it is.
I mean, we'll talk that. How much do we really like Jimmy G? I think he's interesting.
We like him, Dean. We like him. We're in on Jimmy G this week.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I thought if Debo was going to be out, and I like Kittle a little bit more, I like Ayuk a little bit more, and he still could be out. We'll see.
They're so condensed. If Debo's out, that offense is super condensed.
Problem is, it sounds like he's playing.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Sounds like he's playing. Okay, so maybe
it seems
I don't
likely
like
he's going
Jimmy
to play now.
Garoppolo as much.
But he may just be, running wind sprints out there, just decoy. That's always in play.
That throws a wrench into things.
How much do we care, Kirk? We don't talk a lot about offensive linemen, but how much do we care about the Dolphins being down a couple offensive linemen?
I think it's pretty key for at least if you want to play. If you think this game, it's going to be tough for this game, I think the 49ers are going to handle this game pretty easily. And, that shoots San Francisco defense up if you can pay for it. I mean, every week we see Tua just get pummeled, sack after sack, and crazy looking sack. They should be able to tee off on him today.
I think McDaniel's too good and too smart, and he's going to scheme, and he's going to get rid of the ball so quickly too that I don't know, man. I'm just a homer for McDaniel. So I like the Dolphins earlier in the week with the points, but it is troublesome a little bit that the line's going to be beat up. But I just think McDaniel's smart enough; he'll figure it out. Revenge game for Mike McDaniel too. I guess we can if coaches have revenge games. I think he kind of likes those guys over there. Who knows? But they gave him they elevated him to, I think it was OC, right? At San Fran, I'm pretty certain. Other things as far as just like with three totals. Chargers Raiders looks really appealing at 49.5. And let's talk about that, Kirkwood. Bobby kind of brought it up as far as backloading lineups. If you're in doubt, play the late guys, right? Because you got Miami San Fran, which is a pretty interesting game. You got Seattle and the Rams, whatever's left of the Rams. They're just every single week they're throwing somebody else new on the IR. No Aaron Donald, Stafford. They said Stafford could come back week 17, which is hilarious. There's no chance. If you're in a season-long league and you have Cooper Kupp, he's not coming back. I'm sorry. Just drop him.
Speaking of which, let's get those season-long questions fired up, ready. Throw them off here. You got
all the season-long today. You
got Dean. You got Bobby Best Ball here. We're all going to take care of you up until next show.
Well, I'm happy to ask the questions on your behalf, and I'll throw them to you. But and Bobby Best Ball is not exactly that. That's a different game. It's not Bobby season long. It's Bobby Best Ball. So that's not really helpful.
There's crossover there, Dean. There's crossover.
There's a Venn diagram.
Yep.
KC Cincinnati is also a late game too. One of the quote unquote game of the year potential, I suppose. Getting Chase back. This game is a rematch of the AFC Championship last season. Should be a lot of fun. A lot of potential fireworks. Good luck figuring out which Chief receiver is going to get the touchdown. There's so many options. I have no idea who to pair with Mahomes. But it's an interesting conversation we'll have to have. And did I miss the fourth game? Miami, San Fran. Yeah, Seattle and the Rams. There's some pieces in that game that I think are at least worth talking about. Chargers, Raiders looks like a pretty appealing game. Kirk, what is your thoughts as far as backloading stuff? Then there's the Jags, Detroit, which is another game where, how many players do you actually feel confident in that game? I think everybody feels confident, in Amon-Ra. And then, Zay Jones, also questionable for what it's worth, coming off one of his best games of his career. Now he's in a dome in Detroit. Awesome matchup, awesome price. He's going to be very popular.
Who called Zay Jones last week on the show here?
I think it was Kirkwood.
And who played Zay? Who played Zay Jones at 1% and had the nuts until Jacobs ran freaking 86-yard touchdown to the house.
But you do prompt the questions, and they do come, Kirkwood. So Jedi Girl wants to know, season-long Olave. I have no idea who's Olave playing.
Olave.
Yeah.
Olave. Dean, take a seat, pal. Take this one out. All right, sit this one out.
The receiver. I forget people's names, and they're not.
Drink some water. Get a little.
Who's DPJ? That's Donovan Peoples-Jones. Of course, I would never butcher that. And JJ is JJ Juju? What's JJ? Juju. Okay. Yeah. So Juju, Olave, or DPJ.
Juju. Just take the game environment and hope that Juju goes off.
This is great. Juju or CPAT? Ben wants to know Juju or CPAT. It's Juju, right? Take the game environment again.
I kind of like CPAT sneakily today.
Is it still 3 running backs there in Atlanta?
Just take the game environments. Go with Juju.
Yeah. All right. We asked the season long questions, and all of a sudden they start coming. I know.
Yeah. All right. Let's chill out with the season long, guys. Let us do our show here.
Yeah. Well, they're just appeasing you, and they probably genuinely have these questions. So there you go. We're happy to help. What are you doing here, Kirkwood? Are we backloading lineups because there's some question marks late? We'll get some more clarity late, and the game environments are pretty positive as a whole when you consider the 4 games.
I mean, I'm not purposely backloading. I just like a lot of the back plays. So they make for easy. So I guess I like Jacobs, right? Everyone should like Jacobs. And if for some reason it sounds more serious than I think it is, and he's out, there's a bunch of easy pivots as long as it's in the flex, right? At the same price, you got Kelsey, you could move it over to. You've got Chase, you could move it over to. There's a lot of pivots, so I don't think it's that hard to do. I'm really upset actually because a lot of my lineups I was trying to cheap it with Zonovan Knight, and I don't know what to do. Maybe maybe I'll still be playing him at the end of the show, but I don't like this coach. I hate this committee coach speak.
What have we heard? What's the latest? Because Carter's out. Robinson was like a healthy scratch.
Back now. He was a healthy scratch. So the coach said the team will have a backfield by committee with Carter not expected to play. So he's saying that it's going to be a trio of them. It's going to be Knight, Ty Johnson, and James Robinson.
Immediate X for me.
But the thing is if he's the lead, he's 4,600. What do we take from the scratch from James Robinson last week? Like, how much are they really going to play? I don't know. It's like I'm still tempted. You know what I mean? It's like, how bad could he be? I wish I knew he was going to get goal line work. That's like the big thing. Like, I could see him like getting like most of the action, and then James Robinson coming in for like goal line or something stupid like that, and then just being, breaking a TV or something.
It's not going to be like 33, 33, 33. Like, what do you think Knight gets? Like 55, something like that?
Yeah.
As far as percentage?
I don't really know. I have to admit that I tanked my expensive lineup last week by jamming Michael Carter in, so I can't claim to know now.
I did that too. Well, yeah, I think a lot of people.
And you know what? In the week before, I did the same stupid thing with Kenyon Drake. It's like, all right, I'm done. I'm done with this.
I did some of that too.
Yeah. It just makes me feel like such a fish.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people thought Drake was going to be sharp because it was a last-second thing, and it's a surprise scratch from Baltimore, and then like you see he's like 30% owned, and like, wow, this is the worst play ever. What are we doing? This guy doesn't catch balls. Lamar is kind of like the goal line running back sometimes. Yeah, that was forward-thinking show, but that was a disaster. Do you have a favorite game, Kirkwood? Is it?
I do.
On your podcast, you liked. The Chargers and the Raiders, has that changed, or is that still where you're at?
No. So I came away from that show, I felt like we had a good show. I felt like the mojo was good.
Week 13, you finally figured it out. You get in the groove.
Yeah, and you know what it was is we did it in the morning on Saturday morning as opposed to midnight on Friday night after like long slates and all that. So felt fresh, and I came away really liking the Chargers game, and I think that's going to be, I think the ownership's going to keep gravitating towards like the Burrow side because the total keeps going up and the totals drop down a little bit in the Raiders Chargers game, and then and people are going to be all over this Jags game, so that's the game I like the most. I just think it's going to absolutely go bananas. Like I said on the show, Herbert is second in the league in passing attempts, and that's with, he's been injured for most of this season, right? Like this is a team that wants to just keep chuck it. He's got all the weapons. The way you beat the Raiders, or the way that you act where all the production comes against the Raiders, is in the slot and against receiving backs. And it's like they have the perfect two weapons for that. They have Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler. So like I don't see. And then I also think that, the Chargers defense is pretty bad too. And so I think that, Jacobs, Devontae Adams, there's going to be a lot of bringbacks in this game. So I think this game's going to go nuts again. And I don't think I'm biased because of the overtime the week before with the Raiders. I just think their defense is just trash.
Yeah, man, I really wish the Chargers would have not went for two. Was it the Chargers in Arizona that last game?
No, so I'm with it was
a nice little game.
The Cardinals. Yeah, I had the game. So like we said on the show, Connor was my favorite running back play. So that was my like nut lineup. It was Kyler with Connor, James Conner, and Keenan and Hopkins, who were like just good enough.
The same lineup probably.
Yeah, but just good enough. But I had Zay Jones, and so I was up there, and then I wanted OT so bad, and then he goes for two, and I got the 2-point conversion with Everett. I had Everett, but I had the game like fully stacked. Yeah. I mean, 2 points. What's 2 points going to do? How am I going to feed my family with 2 points, Dean?
I don't know, man. You gotta hit up those corners or something. Bobby, do you agree? You like the Chargers Raiders as well?
Yeah, I'm in on the Chargers Raiders. I like Palmer a good bit. I think he's going overlooked. I think all their weapons are great, right? It's a fantastic spot, but I think he's coming in the lowest owned. Jacobs, Adams on the other side seem like quality run backs. Probably the best run back options like on the slate for a game. So don't mind getting to the two of those guys. I wanted to go back to the Bam Knight situation.
Yeah, what's your take? I don't know what to do with
this running back slate. It's loaded for running backs. Like, I don't think you need to go to the committee. We've seen it the last 2 weeks. Like, we keep touching the stove. They're giving us optionality. I think we get off it here a little bit.
We like Eckler, like Jacobs. They're expensive for sure. P. Ryan, in theory, should become a big thing, assuming that Mixon is out. We don't know that just yet. That's a 4:00 game, but 6K P. Ryan attached to that really, really positive game looks really good. Etienne's another one. I don't really know what to do with him because he's officially questionable. We presume he's going to play. They said he's good to go where this coach speak was. But Hasty looked pretty good, and he's going to get worked into some degree. But also he's facing Detroit in the Dome, 51 total. I don't know what to do with Etienne, especially on DK. FanDuel a little less appealing for me because the price was 8K over there. 6.4 on DK though looks pretty good. I don't know what to do with that one, Bobby. This is the one. This game is the most sketch for me amongst the 50 totals.
It's super sketchy. It's just I feel like I want to just exit, but you can't really do it because there's secondary stat. I'm definitely playing one quarterback from this game at least, but Trevor Lawrence gives me trepidation to Chase Zay. The ETN situation, like you said, Detroit's been better against the run. I feel like, not that they're great or anything by any means, but I think that I don't love the Jaguars, I think, as much as everyone else. I'm more bullish on the Goff side. If anything, I'm on Raw. DJ Chark is down at 3.8.
I love Chark.
Yeah. Jameson Williams got ruled in. He's on a pitch count though. It looks like.
Who did Chark play for before the Lions? Kirkwood.
This is revenge, baby. This is revenge city. This is all I need to hear.
So I know I just said don't play the Jets committee. I know Kirkwood talked about this on the show. Do we like Swift? Is he just? I don't know. I'm
not going to even play him.
They don't give him the ball. That's kind of important.
No, they do give him. He got it. No, you're correct. Not enough, but he got some insanely valuable touches. He should have scored a touchdown. He was down at the half-yard line, by his knee was there, right? He got a 2-point conversion instead of a touchdown. He had another touchdown that was just overthrown when he was in the corner by Goff. And so, he is definitely their best. I don't know why they're using Justin Jackson. I have no clue.
I don't understand that either.
Matt Patricia's gone, and they're still acting like this. I don't get it. But Swift. I mean, this game. If this game pops off, Swift could be good, and he's only 5,600. And you have to be optimistic and think, well, maybe he could get some more workload. But their high value touches are going, should be there, and I like them. The thing about this game, I'm really worried. This game absolutely buries me. Because
you'll have minutes remaining though. You can always chase it. This is a 1:00 game, and you'll kind of know where the bar is set at, right?
Yeah, and then I'll just be hopeless. It's then I'm miserable. I'm watching the game. I'm like, oh, what's the point?
Who buries you? Are you not playing any Amon Ra?
I'm just worried because the pricing is down. This is a great game environment. It's in the Dome, right? This game could totally pop off, and all the plays are pretty cheap, right? Trevor Lawrence is 5,900. Jared Goff, if you want to get a little frisky, on the other side is 5,300.
Goff isn't bearing you, just for the record.
All right, but maybe. I mean, he might now. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is the chalkiest wide receiver at 7,100. Travis Etienne is 6,400. Etienne looks like a great play. That's what we were on, right? To me, first of all, Detroit's 26 DVOA versus the run. Eye test. This guy is electric, has really good speed, is just perfect for a dome game atmosphere on the turf there. Detroit, second most rushing touchdowns allowed, second in yards per attempt. He has, in his last 2 close games, he had 28 and 24 carries. So if this game stays competitive, workload shouldn't be an issue. And only thing I'm worried about a little bit is JaMychal Hasty. And that's just Yeah, a little bit, but are we really that worried about JaMychal Hasty?
A little bit. I think they're
Yeah.
going to work him in. I think he earned some snaps, and we're not certain Etienne's 100%. Like, I guess it's week 13. Not everybody's 100%. That's how it goes, right? But I don't know how much they push him, but how much need to be pushed for a matchup in Detroit that's the counter. This is the game I'm worried about burning me too. If I don't have enough of it at 1 o'clock, but also you can be a little bit different with your lineups. You can adjust on the fly if you feel like if somebody is super chalky that smashes, like you can find, not that you can find last week's Josh Jacobs at 3%, like at 4 o'clock all of a sudden, but something like that theoretically. At least give yourself like a puncher's chance. Some questions here in chat. You asked for some questions, Kirkwood. David wants to know Watson. I can assume that's Christian Watson or Zay Jones.
Watson. Is Dobbs back?
Watson's actually in a really good spot.
Is Dobbs back?
I think so.
Let's pull that up.
Lazard's there and Cobb's there. There's
only okay.
Why does Dobbs?
I'm not worried about Lazard and Cobb. Like Watson has become he's the one with the touchdown equity, right?
He's a home run.
He's earned the trust. He looks awesome. And so he is number one wide receiver to me in this offense.
Yeah, but Rodgers is his thumb and whatever else he's got. He's got ribs, I think. We're trusting he's fine.
No, he's out there. A thing I've learned is like if these guys are out there, I got to trust that they're okay. Like what do we don't play some of these guys when we try to second guess ourselves and they go absolutely bananas. I just have to assume from now on if these guys are out there, they're good to go.
Hey, since we're on that game and you're one of your specialty players, I think this guy's kind of sort of so interesting. And Bobby's got to mention a couple of times that the running back slate's pretty loaded. People aren't playing this guy very much, Kirkwood. I need an official Kirkwood David Montgomery take.
Let's go. Play him. Fire him up. You got Herb Good in chat. He loves him.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a home run play right here.
I'm with it, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The only thing I worry about again is like, am I going to look back on this slate and be like, why didn't I play Fields?
Well, if you're playing, you're probably playing by yourself.
Yeah, at low ownership. Well, you could. I think Claypool's in play.
3.8 is really cheap.
Yeah,
but that's where he should be, right? Like there's no reason to think he should be more expensive than that.
Well, the situation has certainly changed. He's like
no Mooney
fell into the wide receiver. Now Cole Kmet you could play.
Yeah, I guess so.
If
we're not certain, or we're assuming Fields is good. I know he practiced and they have a bye next week, but I guess he's fine and they're going to play him. Like there's no reason really to push if he was not 100%. So I guess he's okay. But nobody's playing Fields. It's an interesting point to raise. Just he's not going to get played. And do they call less running plays for him? Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. It's like you say the same thing with like Josh Allen and the guys out there. He's just running, never sliding. Like he's diving and like taking hits left and right. And he was supposed to have a banged up shoulder too. It's like I just don't know.
Yeah,
that's like I've come to the point to just realize that these guys, if they're out there, they're good to go.
Zay, this is a flex play, Kirkwood. Zay Jones or Dameon Pierce.
Right.
Pierce is such a weird one because he's popping again in optimals. Good matchup against Cleveland. He's done nothing for several weeks now. Been completely horrific, been completely inefficient. Of course, being behind every single game doesn't help either. But yeah, I don't know what to do with Pierce, and he's another quandary that we'll dig into. But yeah, Pierce versus Zay, and then I want your just general thoughts on Pierce.
Well, I guess I would take Pierce over Zay. I hate Pierce, right? Like, I think he's a good player. He's just in a really terrible situation. He's been chalk on Yahoo from these projection. Everybody just plays these projections like every single week. And I have faded him just every single week. And
you must love him, but you're making money off of people playing.
No, then these stupid projection dudes, they hit their 25 points from a defense, and it didn't matter. Anyways, he's been the easiest fade forever for me because it's obvious. The problem is like you have to ask yourself, this is a kind of a different situation for him this week. It's just the matchup is too good against Cleveland, who can't stop the run. They're 31st DVOA versus the run. you just have to ask yourself, can they stay competitive in this game? And if you think they can, then I think he's a good play. If you think that the Browns are going to handle him, and and I think they should be able to handle him with Chubb and stuff. And we don't really know what to expect from Watson, what the game plan. It's crazy that he's returning to his first game back after suspension to have the revenge game here in the first week. So I really don't know what to expect out of Watson. I'm kind of worried about this game in general, but if I think Cleveland's going to handle him, and if that's the case, then I'm just going to fade Pierce. But if you think that this game's going to be competitive, the workload is going to be there for him for sure.
No quarterback has a bigger variance, no bigger potential outcomes than Watson this week. We just don't know. And there's no way of gauging how ready he is. He hasn't played football in 2 years, right? Practice can only give you so much. Houston's a good soft landing, sure. It's not going to be a comfortable environment, I wouldn't imagine. I would assume, the crowd's going to be into it. These defensive players that used to play with him, some of them, probably, whatever's left of them, they're not very good, but I think you're going to get the best of them.
He's probably going to be a little high strung, not really relaxed like he's used to.
Stop.
No?
I mean, I'm sure he's going to be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Bobby, do you have a general take in this Cleveland Houston game? Because it really is. I think Houston keeps it close. I think they actually get up for it as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, I think there's pieces. I like both defenses in this game. I'm fine with both running backs. Very good spot for both running backs. In terms of Deshaun Watson, yeah, I'm in the boat. It seems like it's just probably a lot that the situation in general. Then I worry about the other side of it. Like if he goes for 300 and brings Cooper with him for a 100-yard bonus or DPJ, or we could be in trouble if we're not playing him. But right now I'm not playing him. Chubb's probably my favorite play in this game. Then Pierce. I think you can make a case for Nico Collins as a cheaper receiver. I think the tight ends are in JSU was kind of hitting on. He liked one of the tight ends. I think it was Akins. I don't know. It was one of the two. It was cheaper when we were on the Tournament Take show.
Harrison Bryant on the other side is going to be the popular cheapie.
Bryant's going to be the chalk tight end.
And I think he's the worst freaking play, and he's in my lineup right now.
Yeah.
I don't love it. I hear he's talented, but what sort of rapport does he have with Watson? Has he ever even thrown the ball to him? I don't know. I feel like that's maybe never happened. Maybe in practice. Well, sure, it's happened in practice, but what kind of chemistry do they have? We've seen it before. I want
to get the Kittle so badly.
Yeah, or obviously if you have all the salary, Kelsey, sure.
Yeah, which I don't. But
we live in the world of a salary cap. I just think it's noteworthy as far as Houston. Obviously no Brandon Cooks. Nico Collins is 4.2. Chris Moore is 3.2. You don't want to play Philip Dorsett, but he's 3K. Just how cheap Houston is.
Aren't there better cheap receivers though? We can go to the KC guys. We can go to the Detroit value with Chark. There's a ton of cheap receivers.
Yeah.
Be forcing receivers that are tied to Kyle Allen. I don't know if you really want to do that.
Yeah,
outside Nico. Nico had 9 targets last week. I'm pretty positive.
I'm not going to play Kyle Allen. I don't think that's happening, but I'm going to get some of these receivers in a pinch. And Collins is going to be pretty popular. I think you might be landing in cash lineups.
Yeah.
Double check out. Somebody was asking about that in chat. Jared's asking how steamed is P. Ryan going to get? Can't be crazy, right? I think it is. I think it's going to be people are on top of stuff, man. It's a late game. Our projections are already saying it's going to be P. Ryan. If you run optimals right now, we're assuming we made a decision. We don't know this for certain. But somebody took a stand in the projection team and said, listen, let's project P. Ryan in and mix it out. And now P. Ryan is projecting to be in optimals. So, yeah, I just ran optimals on DK. I capped it at 62% as far as running backs. And the only running back getting 62% is P. Ryan. So he's going to be popular. Second best for what it's worth is Jacobs at 48%. We're assuming he's in. Walker, Pierce, Knight, Eckler, Etienne, Derrick Henry's got a pinch. Cook has a pinch. Aaron Jones has a pinch, but that's where we're at. Somebody was asking about the running backs you have to play for cash. I would love to get the Eckler theoretically. I don't know if you can. I suppose you can. And then Chubb's another one. Kirkwood, this feels like a Chubb game, right? This is, favorite versus a terrible defense. You're just going to run it right down their throats. I feel like ideally they don't want Watson throwing the ball 40 times. They want him to have a comfortable game, be efficient, throw the ball like 30 times and have 300 yards and 2 touchdowns and not have to push too hard and just let Chubb do his thing against his terrible defense.
There's a Watson Chubb joke there somewhere.
I know. I heard it in my brain and I'm like, no, we're not going to go there. I'm not going to stoop. And then I was like, you know what?
Good man. No, I just said it's there. I'm not going to stoop either. I'm going to take the high road on this one.
Yeah, official Chubb take.
I think he smashes. It's like the absolute best matchup. Like they're 30th in DVOA versus the run. He averages close to 20 touches per game, which is all you need with his sort of efficiency. The Texans allow the most fantasy points per game to running back, the most yards they've given up on the season, rushing yards, the most touchdowns they've given up on the season. And what does this guy do? I mean, this guy is like the best runner, right? Like in the game, like the pure running back. So yeah, I think it just depends how close this game stays. I think he definitely goes off, and it's like, how close does this have to stay for him to absolutely break the slate?
Bob, are you going to be over the field on Chubb? I'm pulling up the ownership now. I'm curious where we have him at right now.
I'm trying to be, but the current ceiling projection that I'm using is giving me other running backs. But I think it should be. I think I'm gonna end up over the field on Chubb. Yeah, definitely. I think
he always projects bad because a median projection for Chubb is worthless, right?
No, yeah, 100%. Yeah, you have to. I feel. Yeah, it's always that.
That's the beauty of him. That's the beauty of him. It's like he either smashes or he fails. It's like it's 50-50. It's 50-50.
We're looking at 8% on DK. Our last ownership run, that was 11 o'clock, so pretty recent. Eckler at 10, Montgomery at 10. It's pretty flat. Etienne, this is DK at 27%. So that's the clear. I think I'm going to be a little bit under that, but I don't know. We'll see. Jacobs at 20%. I'm happy to pivot to Eckler against Jacobs. I'm okay with that. Maybe run Adams. I love the idea of the idea. I don't know if I can do it, but playing one of the either Jacobs or Adams in every single lineup, especially if you're on that that Raiders game with the Chargers. Just they're pretty pricey. We got Pierce at 19%. Walker against the Rams, who again just feel like they've given up. We'll see. Stay tuned on that. Aaron Donald's out. The previous week they lost one of their other run stoppers. Their offense should be inefficient as well. Latavius Murray at 12%. I could not believe it, Kirkwood. You played. I was listening to your podcast. I was visibly angry.
It was I spent no time. I wasted all this time making Rainmaker lineups and my DK lineups, and then I had to I got stuck trying to make. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to make the change to, and I got stuck with Latavius Murray, and I played the fish play Michael Carter. And I blame Derek Carty and the Blitz chat for saying that Carter's a must. And I was like, it's never my own fault, so I blame Carty.
Where's Derek Carty on Bam Night today? What's the?
So now this is what I think now is everybody's going to move off of this situation because of the speak and then he's going to smash. So.
Yeah. So I was thinking that after I said don't when I was looking at it, Minnesota, terrible versus the run. I don't know. Maybe I know I said we shouldn't play the committee, but now I'm starting to be like, maybe we should play some Bam Night.
I want to play DJ Shark too. There's a lot of things I want to play.
Do you want to play Shark? You want to?
Yeah, I want to go Shark baby Shark, and a touchdown. It's like brings back the baseball.
Play all our bench guys. Play Shark. Play Conklin. Play AJ Brown.
Oh, I forgot about Conklin.
I have a jet that I think is going to score a long touchdown today. That's going to be off the board.
Okay, I guess it's not Garrett Wilson then.
It's not Garrett Wilson. Everyone's going to play Wilson. Wilson's fine. I'm definitely playing him, but I think Elijah Moore is going to get in the end zone today again for the second week in a row. I think it's going to be a bomb.
Okay. In the chat, they're talking about, by the way, Bobby, about Justin Jefferson. Are people not going to play Justin Jefferson because of Sauce? Guarding him, I don't think.
I like Hawkins. I like Hawkinson a ton in that game. On the other side, if you're worried about Sauce, like you can get to Hawkinson or you can get to Thielen. I know Thielen's pretty much exercising out there at this point, but Hawkinson would be like my favorite run back on the Minnesota side.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like people are like, oh my god, I can't play Jefferson because it's Sauce. And
Yeah,
I think it's because like I just don't have the salary for it. Like, who doesn't like Jefferson? I'll play him any week I can. Is that where you're at, Kirkwood? Like, you're probably not going out of your way to pay for Jefferson. It's not because he's like this matchup. It's just because salary's a thing, and you can only get so many big spends. And I don't think he's a priority. He's great.
I think he's a great play, and that makes him a great play. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna. If I was max entering, which I'm not, because when I do these shows, I got Rainmaker lineups to make and all this stuff. I really set myself back on these Sunday nights.
Jaguar really got you with the Rainmakers.
Oh, he got
me too.
I made money on it though because I banked, so I got.
I did not, for what it's worth. I sold all my cards to Cal,
and so now it's like I don't even care. Like I let these I don't even sell these cards or like use them, and like I'm just like wasting the value away. But anyways, Justin Jefferson's a great play because of that. I mean, you if you just look at guys who could absolutely break a slate and are matchup proof, he's going to be with Sauce Gardner, but he's going to be also, this is Justin Jefferson one-on-one coverage, right? Like he can win this battle all day, So he also, Sauce could shut him down. I mean, there's variance here, and he could absolutely nuke the slate, and he's going to be unowned, and that's the key. I mean, he won't be on. He'll probably be up to 10% somewhere.
Jefferson?
Yeah, like somewhere like to that range, like
5 to
10%, like somewhere like up. I think he'll be like 8% or something like that.
Couple questions here in chat. Bobby Jedi Girl wants to know: can you play Jacobs and Adams in the same lineup? It's a lot of money. For the Raiders, but
it's a lot of money if you're paying down at QB. I think you'd make it work. That's how I would approach it. I don't
see there's a lot of stacks
with somebody on the other side, though. I think.
Yeah, I like Palmer though, so he's like right at 5'6", so you could.
It's good you like somebody cheap because you need.
I like DeAndre Carter too.
Yeah, I like Carter too. Carter's a really good run back.
Yeah.
For a cheapie.
I've done those same builds, right? Like I've tried to play. Can I play Chase and Higgins and Burrow? And like, can I play? I mean, what I would love to play is Herbert, Eckler, and Keenan.
Yeah.
Run it back with Devontae and Jacobs, right? Like, how easy would that be? Like,
Can you make a lineup around that? Like, is there one feasible? I haven't tried that.
I think I gave up. I'm pretty sure I gave up.
Yeah. But it's a fun idea. Chubb or Eckler? We like them both, Kirkwood. Play Chubb or Eckler tonight?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's close. I'm playing Eckler, but I think Chubb, I mean, this is the Chubb game, right? Like, this just makes too much sense. So the better play is Chubb. I'm going to probably have Eckler.
He's
there's a lot of competition in that. Like the game has to pop off for Eckler to go off, and for like Keenan, like for a bunch of these guys to go off. Like with the game, Chubb is going to get his in this matchup against Houston.
It's interesting. I was going to say it's a better play on DK than it is on FanDuel because of the price. Chubb's 8K on DK, 9.6 on FanDuel, but just like the way he scores fantasy points, he's traditionally a better player on FanDuel. FanDuel stresses touchdowns. Like they hurt you. They don't hurt you as much if you're a receiving back, right? Like Eckler's a better play on DK, but it's interesting that he's 14% projected owned on DK and 2% on FanDuel just because the price is so distinctly different. Michael wants to know, let's see, Bobby. Yeah, Jameson Williams is expected to play for Detroit. Does that hurt Chark or does it help Chark? We said pitch count, right? He's not expected to be playing a ton.
I've seen pitch count from some Twitter account. I think it might have been Rap Sheet. So I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't.
So no pitch count.
So no pitch count. Yeah. The other thing about Jameson Williams is like it takes like one play with him, right? But he's at 4.7, so it's going to take a little bit more than that. I thought
he might be 3K and he'd be interesting, but
yeah, if he was 3K, like I'd have a ton of interest. But 4.7, but yeah, he could hurt one of these receivers for Detroit on one play.
Shout out to Travis in chat, who's high right now. Kenneth says 3 wide receivers. Okay, so Travis is just high. Kenneth is high on some wide receivers. Let's see, multiple cash games. Amon-Ra. Yeah, Amon-Ra like, on DK is a lock and load for cash games. Conversation for tournaments. Garrett Wilson and Christian Kirk. Would you change that? I think Nico Collins is probably a cash game receiver.
Nico Collins is, I think, is definitely a cash game receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 3 cash game receivers, I mean, again, you can play 4, I suppose. Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, Nico Collins are probably the 3 that you're likely to have. Doesn't mean you can't build other ways. But, yeah, the Kirkwood's – I'm assuming you like Christian Kirkwood, right? But I don't know if he's a cash game play, but like he's not going to like hurt you probably. We haven't talked about the Dolphins receivers. We touched on Miami for a second, but
Kirk could absolutely go nuke in this game environment in a dome.
Yeah.
So like that, like okay, so you're like, we got to play Nico Collins. I get it. The savings is there, but like, I would be trying my hardest to get like Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, and Christian Kirk. That threesome right there sounds just like, because there's good floors, yes, but there's also immense ceilings. You don't get that immense ceiling with Nico Collins.
Yeah. Why is like all that? I mean, I was thinking about lineup construction, and like, I think Kirk is going to hurt your running backs. It might hurt your quarterback, but like, I'm not here to besmirch Christian Kirk. Jared wants to know if we ever play tiers. I've never really played the tiers before. I feel like it's something I should probably look at more. You guys ever dabble with tiers?
Nah.
No.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't, but I feel like I should at some point.
There's just too much.
Yeah, we're in Rainmaker streets. We're in DFS streets.
It's like
multiple different sites. Yeah, it's too much.
How much money would you suggest leaving on a 12-game slate? Typically go 200 to 300, but unsure of exact amount.
49.5 in my Opta.
Yeah, I like that. Like you want to spend most of it, give yourself some wiggle room. But like if you like your lineup and it's at 49.5, like even 49.4, like if you hand build something, like you don't have to change that. You know, I don't know if he's asking like for like optimizer rules or just hand building stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah, you don't have to be as firm on that. Kirkwood, give me your quarterback pool today.
The ones, I mean, it's Herbert and Burrow for me. And then what the other one that's going to be played is Trevor Lawrence is going to be played. And then I think it's really sneaky. Like, it's not sneaky. It just, I think you got to play Fields at this ownership. And you know, and just hope that they use his legs and he goes like, because I just think at that ownership, we've already seen what he can do. He could nuke a slate. And so, and another one who's going to get lost in the shuffle is Jalen Hurts. Like Hurts to AJ Brown is like with another revenge candidate here. Just is going to be criminally underowned today.
He's getting a touchdown, right, AJ? He's getting the box.
Oh yeah,
like he's in Jalen's ear. He's letting them know, like, you know, just to remind you, I used to play with these guys. I want to show them up a little bit.
I mean, the dude battled through whatever sickness he had. Just see his like eye was all messed up in the game.
I don't think he left on good terms either, right?
I feel like, I think there was something
like there was like
contract wise, and they just didn't want to pay him, and then he just went ahead and replaced him essentially with Treylon Burks.
And he's got the number one matchup advantage. And they're a run funnel defense, right? And he's got on Pro Football Focus. He's got the number one matchup advantage today.
He's got a weak cornerback to pick up.
Guess who has number 2? This is why I don't know if I can take any of this.
Oh, is it Shark?
Randall Cobb.
No.
I swear to God.
It is weird. Like a lot of those plays in the Green Bay Chicago game grade out well, but it's just like the pace of it's going to be ridiculously bad.
Oh, do want to mention, if you guys don't want to have to like mess with deciding playing fringe players in the Packers and the Bears, check out Stat Hero. In case you haven't heard about Stat Hero, unique fantasy sports platform that allows users to compete only against the house, not against other players in a contest. You're not playing against Kirkwood. You're not playing against Bobby or myself or those in chat. You participate in a head-to-head style contest with Stats Hero. They're going to go ahead and provide a lineup that you said to beat that lineup as well as pick'em style contests. Check out the Big Dime League, a season-long leaderboard NFL contest up to $50,000 in prizes all season long. Use the promo code GRINDERS, GRINDERS, 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Jump into the action today at Stat Hero. Bobby, you have a refined list as far as your quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think it's a good list. I got Herbert, I got Jared Goff, I got Joe Burrow, I got Trevor Lawrence. I have Jimmy Garoppolo, but now I'm not as sure with Debo. I was hoping it would be a more condensed situation, but Kirky gave me the news at the top of the show.
No. Don't get off Jimmy. I promise. I swear to you, I like Jimmy G.
Okay. And then Mahomes. I'm running and not getting a ton of Mahomes. I'm just like, it's tough. I feel like I should be getting more for what it's worth.
Who's your favorite receiver to pair with Mahomes? All things considered, like obviously
It's always always Kelsey, but probably Sky Moore at 3-1.
Yeah, that's probably where I'm at too
for GBPs.
How about yourself, Kirkwood?
It's Kelsey. I mean, sell me more on Sky Moore.
He's cheap. He's got pedigree. They like him.
I hate his number. If you're looking for something against him,
that was your sales pitch.
It's like 20. It's like 22. Right?
If you're looking to knock him, 24. 24. It's a terrible number choice. No, he's a good play.
And he's also 3K, and he's a team total of 27. But the problem with Kansas City is like they could score 30 points, and like nobody is like somebody you need.
Yeah, talk about an offense that's not condensed.
They have 10 different guys catching balls. They have 3 different guys running the ball.
I mean, Justin Watson's on the field a hell of a lot more.
Justin Watson's grading out better for me. Moore had the targets last week.
What do we think of the Najee Warren situation? Warren's only 5K on FanDuel. As far as I know, Najee is like full go, right? He's good to go. He's off the injury report. Is that correct? That's my understanding.
Are we playing Falcons, Pittsburgh? Like,
I'm playing Drake the Snake, London.
Are you happy about this?
Well, yes.
Why is he a snake? Just because his parents decided to name him Drake?
That's his official nickname. I didn't make it, Dean. I didn't make up his nickname. It's his official nickname.
It's not his official nickname. Drake the Snake, London. Where are you playing him? Is he like really cheap on Yahoo?
No, he's cheap on DK. He's 4,700.
Yeah, I know, but
he's right there. He's a wide receiver 1.
Yeah, not all wide receiver 1s are created equal. Come on, stop it.
But this is also another pass funnel defense. This is
Nico Collins is wide receiver 1. You want to use that argument?
Right? Yeah, but this is like a legitimate wide receiver 1 who's just playing with a bad.
Drake London isn't a bad play.
Drake London is going to be an absolute stud. Nico Collins is not. Like maybe
a pretty good play.
Maybe Nico Collins will get more targets today because that's just how the world.
He has zero ceiling though.
But Drake the Snake.
I'm with Kirkwood on the Snake.
You believe he's the snake too?
Kirkwood he's a snake.
He knows it. Bobby, he follows. Bobby's followed him through college. He knows his nickname's the Snake, right, Bobby?
Hold on. Now you're making me Google. Every once in a while you're correct on these things, but I do not believe that's his nickname. I don't think that's true. Bobby, do you give like 30 seconds on defense? You love your defensive teams.
Yeah, I love the Texans and I love the Browns. I think it's interesting. You're playing in some chalk there with Pierce. If you play the Browns, paying up, differentiate construction. Steelers D is also very good. I know we just kind of talked up Drake London.
No, it's fine. And then you can also play a wide receiver against your defense fine because you're hoping they're in comeback mode or whatever, Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyone else? 49ers with Armstead out.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think that's something I'd have consideration. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the D.
3,100. That seems like a bargain. 3,100.
Falcons GM on Drake London's nickname of Twin Towers for him and Kyle Pitts. Apparently, him and Kyle Pitts are collectively known as the Twin Towers. At least,
so he's known as Drake the Snake. Collectively, he's known as the Twin Towers.
Okay. Fair enough. I don't believe that, but I mean, how do you how do I prove that you've never been to Kansas? Like, you can't prove that, right? How do I prove that this is not his nickname? What else is of note before we got I believe it's Beimfohr. Yeah, Beimfohr, of course, and Squirrel Patrol coming in a few minutes. Favorite stack, Bobby. I guess we're going to keep talking about the Chargers and the Oakland, right? Oakland, Vegas.
Yeah, so it's the Chargers and it's the Oakland game stack I like a lot. Palmer's my guy. He's the first guy I liked on the slate all week. It's a cheaper piece in that game. He's better. He's a good player, so I don't mind going to him a little bit, and then getting up to Adams or Jacobs on the other side, and allowing you to get Eckler and Herbert.
The worst player I've considered rostering today is Karen Williams. Is anybody going to get a Karen Williams thing? I think he can. So
the matchup is great for Karen Williams, right?
I supposedly, like, going back to the start of the season, this is somebody they loved in preseason, and he got hurt. He went on IR. Like, they have nothing else to play for. I know that line is horrific, but they're probably going to be behind. I think he's going to be the receiving back as opposed to Cam Akers. If I need to save some salary, I might play some Karen Williams. Is that horrific, Bobby, or is that okay? You approve? So,
like, if you want to get your Mahomes, getting one of these cheap running backs on him at night, Karen Williams, or even like Herbert for that matter, he's 7,200. I don't hate it. Seattle's terrible versus the run. It's fine. Yeah, that's probably my breakdown. I don't know how much I'm going to have, but he's in my player pool currently.
Kirkwood, you got anything to add there?
No.
Better than Latavius Murray, right?
Can we talk about Chalk P. Ryan like real quick? What are we doing with that?
I got a tight end play that I just uncovered.
I'm gonna play a good bit of P. Ryan on DK and probably on FanDuel as well. And I guess
a lot of good plays around P. Ryan for what it's worth.
Who's your favorite pivot off him?
Montgomery, like 6,200 right there.
Mm-hmm.
He's in a good spot. Well, so I guess like ETN's not really a pivot, but I just think there's a lot of plays around him. I don't know if you wanted to go to Swift. We talked about not playing committees, but yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where who's 50? Damian Pierce, obviously, but I think Pierce is going to be pretty chalky.
Kirkwood, you said you have a. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's it. That's fine.
Yeah, we got to move. I apologize, but Kirkwood's got to get his tight end take. What do you got here, Kirkwood?
2 weeks ago, I recommended a guy because he came off the injury report, was clean for the first time. He got kind of peppered with targets, 6 targets for 5 receptions, 65 yards.
Logan.
It's Logan. He was on the injury report again last week. He played through it. He got only 3 targets, 1 catch, 7 yards. He, however, has been removed from the injury report again this week in week 13. So, and then he's a pivot off Harrison Bryant, and Giants give up the 5th most fantasy points to tight ends.
Do we like Gibson at all? I know we're going to keep it going, but 5,200.
I mean, if you land on, I'm not going to be mad at you, but like I'm not isolating it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's fine, but there's a lot of fine stuff, and he's kind of in the back of the line of the fine stuff. What about you, Kirkwood? You have an official Gibson take? We got to go, but I'm curious.
I haven't gotten there at all, so I'm not playing him. But
I like the LT call.
Who's LT?
Lawrence Taylor. No.
Danian Tomlinson, Lawrence Taylor.
Danian Tomlinson, yeah.
Lawrence Tynes, the former kicker for the Giants.
Lawrence Tynes, yep.
Like, I don't know who LT is. I'm seriously trying to figure out who it is. But I guess
it's Logan Thomas.
Oh, he's not LT.
Low T.
We've had this argument. We've had it. Low T. He's 2'9".
You gotta at least have make a Pro Bowl once to get the nickname. All right, we gotta go because Squirrel Patrol's knocking on the door. Ebeimfohr is knocking on the door as well. Does anybody have a hot take for the road? We want to finish strong. Kirkwood, give me your best hot take on the slate. What do you got?
I'm not a hot take guy, but I'm going to tell you guys to play Drake London today, Drake the Snake. And I want to see on Twitter when he goes off that I want to see snakes trending on there. And let's win some money.
He's going to get 40% of the targets, so he's going to get 6 targets.
Massive target share.
see that call and raise it. What do you got, Bobby?
Joshua Palmer, 2 TDs today.
There you go. That's a better one, I think. I mean, look, if he buries me, so be it. All right. Don't go anywhere. No reason to go anywhere. Hit that like button before they jump in. But you got Squirrel Patrol and Erik Beimfohr jumping in just a second. We're taking y'all straight up the lock. If your question was not answered, make sure you ask your question during crunch time. They will answer that. And I know Eric's got his eye on the chat as well. Crush it on week 13. Win something. If you do, let us know. We'll celebrate y'all on the old Twitter machine. That's Bobby. That's Kirkwood. I was Dean. Win something. Here comes Erik and Squirrel. We're out of here. Holler.
Beer here back at the Fantasy Bar with your pints and picks for Week 13, presented by BetMGM. Use promo code GRINDERS for a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Undefeated last week. That brings us to 4-0 the last 2 weeks. Let's keep rolling. First pick for you, Pittsburgh, -1 in Atlanta. Steelers playing some good ball here. Top 10 rushing defense against a team that loves to run the ball. Atlanta just 1-5 in their last 6 against the number. Think the Steelers go in and get this done. Give me Pittsburgh -1. Next pick for you this week, Washington on the road, 2.5-point favorites in New York. Now, these are two teams going in the opposite direction. Washington playing well. The Giants going downhill. Washington has covered 6 of their last 7. The Giants have lost 3 of the last 4. Third of the bets coming into Washington, but half of the money. Give me Washington to roll here in New York. That'll do it here for Week 13. For BetMGM, I am Beer saying salute. Best of luck with your bets, and we'll see you next week.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to week 13. Every week I say now I truly cannot believe how fast the season is going by, but I'm very excited for this stretch run here, GPP Final Takes on RotoGrinders.com. I am joined now frequently, the frequent co-host, John Breslin, aka Squirrel Patrol. John, I'm excited to talk about this slate because it took me a little while throughout the course of this week to kind of wrap my head around what I really thought that this slate was. Talking to a bunch of other people I know you have a Friday show here on RotoGrinders. I had one too, talking to some different people and seeing ownership and everything like that. I feel like this show in particular, if you have not watched before, this is a GPP focused show, and we will walk our way through some of the core ideas for tournaments, not necessarily position by position, not necessarily game by game, although we will kind of do both. But I feel confident. This is a bad word. When you feel confident in tournaments, that's probably when it's bad. But I feel like there are a lot of gaps in where ownership is falling and some plays that are just as good, if not better, maybe going lower owned than some other spots that either are just not quite as good or have some uncertainty. So I'm excited to kind of see how we come together a lot and have a lot of fairly similar opinions. So I'm excited to see what you're thinking about this slate.
Yeah, it's a wide open slate. It's like probably the most wide open slate, maybe since like week 1. There's more games, and for some reason I really feel like it's like 2 extra games compared to the last few weeks. And I really feel feels like there's so much stuff out there. I'm going more off the board this week than I have any other week this season. I think when you look at it, it looks like a kind of like a binary slate where there's like 1 or 2 games that have like huge totals. And I'm playing some of those games like in a set of 150 lineups. I'm going to obviously have some stacks for those games. Detroit, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Cincinnati is the 2 high point total games. I think there's a lot of other spots that can go off. It would not shock me at all if we're looking at this other game hit 80 points and it's not one of those 2 games that has like the 50-point total. The 50-point Vegas total. So yeah, I think it's a great week for tournaments. It gets tougher as the year goes on, doing like Thursday shows or Friday shows.
Yeah,
there's so much injury. The injuries pile up in the NFL, and we're seeing that this week with Samaje Perine potentially becoming chalk, as with Joe Mixon still not clearing the concussion protocol. I think that's probably the injury news that's really going to shape this slate.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 4:00 game, but I think at this point you have to proceed assuming Joe Mixon is out. I think right before he came on, I saw a little thing that he's unlikely to play.
Yep.
And that makes Perine probably chalk, and that gives us some value then that we can play around with to add some higher priced pieces.
Let's start with the Perine thing and kind of transition into the running backs, because I mean, like you said, I do think the whole slate is completely wide open. We are going to touch on some plays that are chalky, of course, and probably some plays that like maybe only a few people are talking about, totally off the board, whatever, because I do think it's really that deep. And to your point, again, kind of my theme is the exact same as you. I'm not avoiding Travis Kelce. I'm not avoiding, I really like Jamar Chase today. I'm not avoiding those games, right? If Travis Etienne fits perfectly in my team, he makes sense on that team, right? Sure, of course. I'm not going to like X out guys from those games, but my general kind of going in plan of attack to this slate, and I'm not running 150, but I'm not doing the same. Normally, if anybody knows me, I'm a 1 to 3 lineup type of a guy. I'm playing. I haven't figured out exactly yet how many I'm playing, because I'm going to play some of these secondary contests because I started to figure out my plan of attack this morning. I'm definitely multi-entering at least on DraftKings today, and so my thesis across all of those teams is really kind of getting off the board. We'll get to my favorite game and my favorite stack, which people might scoff at, but the running back position, I think, is where normally, and I think we talked about this last week. We've definitely talked about it before. Is the spot where both you and I are like, look, Tony Pollard without Ezekiel Elliott, right? Or, 6K Josh Jacobs back in the day, like those different guys that are just chalky and for good reason at running back, where it's so much more projectable. We would eat that. I don't feel quite the same way this week. And Perine becoming a popular play is one of those reasons. Last week, it's a different matchup. Tennessee's a tough run defense, blah, blah, blah. But frankly, you're not playing Samaje Perine because he's going to run for 180 yards, right? He's not Nick Chubb. You are playing him for pass catching and because he's a part of the Bengals offense. And he was 5,700 last week without Joe Mixon. And yes, there were other running backs. I understand how the slate looked, but it's the same today for me. And when he's the shiny new toy in the fun game, right? This is how you get access to that Bengals. He's had 2 good games in a row. I just don't feel like Samaje Perine is the guy I want to like tie my slate to personally at 6K. If it was old like DraftKings pricing and stuff, where he's 4,200 or something, sure. At 6K on a slate where I like a lot of running backs and high upside and low owned running backs, I'm struggling to get to Perine. I'm not going to commit to saying I'm going to have 0, but I'm definitely going to be underweight to Perine. What do you think about him in tournaments?
Yeah, I agree. His price has crept up, and we tend to think like we get the news Sunday morning. It looks like Joe Mixon's out. Like, all right, well, we're going to jam in the Perine like we did last week, right? And the week before that. But he's, he's 6,000 now. He was like 4,000. I mean, that's not fair. Yeah, it was 5,000 a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Now he's 6,000. He's even more on FanDuel, sponsor of the show. 7,100. Like that's like the price of a good running back, and he is. I mean, that's more expensive than David Montgomery. He's in a high total game, and so that does make him more appealing. But yeah, I don't think you need to go there. I think if you want to play Samaje Perine, I think that's fine. But I think you should pair him with some really low or owned pieces, right? Like if you're going to be taking the value, you want to go with some high end options that maybe other people are going to be not having their lineups.
Yep, I totally agree. He's the same thing as what I'll probably end up saying this to a lot of guys. I'm not opposed to Samaje Perine if he fits at that 6K price, whether in your running back or your flex, or he fits in your from a correlation standpoint, right? You can't get to you want to correlate with a Chiefs stack or in that game, whatever, however your process comes together, and you want to play Samaje. He is a good archetype of like a run back to a Chiefs stack. I mean, Jamar Chase is probably a little bit better. The guy can score 50 fantasy points in any week. but he's a pass catching running back. He's going to play the overwhelming majority of the snaps. That makes him game script proof. We talked about this last week with multiple different running backs, right? The Ken Walkers and Derrick Henrys and Nick Chubbs need a very specific set. Ken Walker's a little bit different, I guess, but need a specific set of circumstances to come through and get their volume. Perine is not one of those, so that's why he's not like some X out play. But I do think running back is pretty deep, and it's so funny that you mentioned David Montgomery, because this is a dude who, when he's popular, I'm running for the hills. We would have had a very different conversation than the Perine one. I would have been like, maybe I am Xing out David Montgomery, because he's just not the type of like actual real life NFL player that can easily bury you even as chalk. But now he gets a matchup with the Green Bay Packers. Justin Fields is back. Khalil Herbert is still not back. I'm trying to pull up my lineup HQ, but it's it appears I'm logged out, so I'm getting all the premium filters. I promise I'll try to get that fixed during the show so we can look at something. But Montgomery is this running back who's kind of like falling through the cracks for me today. He's not going to be 0%, but he's in arguably the best matchup on the slate, like right there, right? We can put him there with Nick Chubb, Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs against these run defenses that are putrid. He has his superstar quarterback back. He's going to catch passes. He's going to get goal line work. And we're like putting him, I'm trying to look at where his ownership is. 4% on FanDuel. Again, thank you for mentioning the sponsor of the show. 4% on FanDuel at a cheaper price than Samaje Perine. And we're all going to run to play Samaje Perine. He's just one example. We're going to get to other running backs. He's one example of a guy who I really like today. And I normally would not say that, but I think he's a great marker for what you can do at running back and play really good plays and still get off the board.
Yeah, the matchups this week are fascinating, especially in the running game, because you have some terrible rushing defenses, and the running backs facing those defenses, those terrible rushing defenses, are expensive because they're some of the best running backs in the league, but nobody's playing them. This Cleveland-Houston game is fascinating to me because Houston has by far the worst rushing defense in the league, and they're facing Nick Chubb. I mean, he might be the best running back in the league. Like, if you kind of throw out stats and pass catching, he doesn't score well, particularly on full PPR sites. But he's facing the worst rushing defense in the league. He's the best running back in the league. The Browns defense has the best odds for a touchdown this week. No one's playing the Browns defense because Dameon Pierce is chalk because he's really good value.
Always, every league, Dameon Pierce.
Like, why wouldn't we just play Nick Chubb and the Browns defense and find value anywhere else?
And I think that there is that value. Like that's the thing about obviously we still want good point per dollar projections, right? You don't want to just pay for a raw score and play crappy value and make your lineup worse. But I think we have that value available to us. We'll get to, there's a lot of wide receivers, like definitely sub 6K and even plenty sub 5K. I think that you can make it work. And if you're not going to go get Travis Kelce at tight end, it's like, I'm fine with Mark Andrews. I like TJ Hawkinson, whatever. But honestly, if you don't want to play those guys, you can save at tight end, right? There's tons of value to get to these exact kinds of plays. David Montgomery is the guy in that mid tier for me that I really, really like that I don't think people are going to play. Nick Chubb is the guy who I don't have the tags up here, but you and I both tagged. I think we were the only two that tagged Nick Chubb. I don't get it. I really don't get it. The field can be fickle with matchups like this, where it's like, look, this guy's got a great we'll play crappy players in good matchups constantly, right? Because it's like, oh, look, everybody feasts on the Lions, so let's play. I'm not saying he's crappy. Let's play Zay Jones, right? It's a good matchup for Zay Jones, whatever. I kind of like Zay Jones, not for DFS, in real life, probably more than the average person, but he's a dude. He's just a dude, right? Every team probably has a Zay Jones on their team, but we'll play him in DFS because he's playing the Lions. Then, as you said, the best pure runner of the football on the best pure running team in the NFL against the worst rush defense in the NFL, who's not going to game script him out of the game. They're not going to score enough points to game script him out of the game. They might score enough to keep pushing him because the Browns defense is so bad. Just score 10 points and you're going to get 4 quarters of Nick Chubb. and we're not going to play him. I know the price. I see that you have it sorted by price. I understand the price, but you can make it work on both sites, in my opinion. And he is one of my favorite tournament plays today. So I'm happy we got to him and got away from David Montgomery, because I'm not trying to tie my brand to David Montgomery. But these are great examples, right? 5% Nick Chubb, 4% David Montgomery. But when I sort by Pone here on FanDuel, Dameon Pierce, 23%. Like, what are we even doing here? That's great. That's absolutely. Dalvin Cook is not in a good matchup. Dameon Pierce is in a fine matchup, but he's on a crap offense. Josh Jacobs, we don't even know if he's going to play, right? All these guys that are higher owned, Samaje Perine, I'm not sold that they should even be higher owned, is kind of like my thoughts about this slate, and like those two guys specifically.
Yeah, and I think it's a wide open slate. It's a great slate to get away from the chalk, play somebody like Nick Chubb, play somebody like Derrick Henry that is a star, and it's going to feel uncomfortable because you're going to have to jam in some value that like not everybody's talking about, or that they could really get you a zero. Like you brought up the tight end position. That's actually a place where, again, we've seen some injuries that have flown under the radar a little bit. But yeah, you can put in like a Harrison Bryant for Cleveland because Njoku's out. You can still play like Foster Moreau, Tyler Conklin. These are like, you just have to avoid Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews at the tight end position, and suddenly you've got a lot of money to play with. And maybe that kills you, right? Like maybe Travis Kelce catches 4 touchdowns, and it's like, well, I should have been jamming in like the Dameon Pierce to really save a lot of money. But there's even just at the running back position, there's a bunch of like values. I'm a little bit of a bigger Bam Knight fan than I think they were on the show previous, where why wouldn't they see what they have in this guy, and keep running him and see if he can get the job done. Like, and Minnesota is not like a defense you necessarily need to shy away from. So kind of like that matchup. And yeah, like 5,800 on FanDuel, that's much cheaper than Dameon Pierce even, right? And that's giving you like 700 extra. It's 1,300 cheaper than Samaje Perine. What if Zonovan Knight is just much better? Bam Knight's just much better. And so yeah, there's a ton of places you can go. Like you can go instead of like pivoting from Perine to Jerick McKinnon. I think like Tuttle was talking about McKinnon, but I kind of like him as the play. Like he's super, super cheap. He's in that high, same kind of thought process as Samaje Perine, but there's a huge price difference. So that affords you so much more in your lineup.
Yeah, Perine is obviously going to get more carries, but they serve the same purpose basically on their offense, generally speaking. Perine obviously will now step into more carries without Joe Mixon. I will say, God, we're going to already start to get into the wild takes or whatever of the slate. Perine is not a very good runner. Travion Williams came in last week and spelled him. He's not going to steal passing down work and high value touches, so it really doesn't matter. But I think we might be projecting Perine for a little too much volume. And I think on the flip side, you see we have Zonovan Knight here, Bam Knight, for anybody that doesn't know. And also, how can you not play a guy named Bam Knight? Like, come on. 40, running back. Yeah, at running back, his nickname is Bam. Like that's pretty awesome. But he in my opinion, did kind of it's not that Perine hasn't earned it. He's earned it from like they trust him, right? They're like, I know you're going to pass protect. I know you're not going to screw this up for us. Bam Knight has gone the other way. They traded for James Robinson when Breece Hall got hurt, and because Bam Knight has outplayed him, they made James Robinson a healthy scratch last week. Ty Johnson was the other running back, and he barely touched the ball. So like, I understand all the reports are all these guys are going to get work. Yeah, they probably will. They're probably all going to touch the ball and touch the field. But I think when it comes down to it, especially in a close game, they're going to go to the guy who's playing the best, right? This isn't the preseason. You're not like, and they're playing for the playoffs. The Jets are a good football team, especially now with Mike White, who we'll get to in a little while. But they're better now. They're trying to win games. I think that Zonovan Knight is probably under projected, and especially on FanDuel, where like I don't know how the passing work's going to come with James Robinson back active and Ty Johnson in there and stuff. But I really think that there's only upside for me to Zonovan Knight, and there's only downside to me to like some other guys. Perine's probably one of them. Travis Etienne, is another one that, like, yes, there's upside. The matchup is great. He's a superstar, young superstar, but they're not really particularly playing for anything. He's like the opposite of Zonovan Knight. They're not really particularly playing for anything. And he is this young, exciting player who they know he's part of the future, right? Zonovan Knight's playing for his NFL career. Travis Etienne is, going to go to his multi-million-dollar home after this game is over, because they're not going to the playoffs, and he got a foot scare. He has a recurring foot issue. He runs funny. I get it. They talk about his gait, the way that he runs, I guess, puts extra stress on his foot. That's why he hurt his foot last year. And then they got a scare last week and they pulled him. I find it hard to believe in a fairly meaningless game that they're just going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to load you back up with 30 touches. Could they? Of course, it's in the range of outcomes, but it's kind of like the opposite of Zonovan Knight to me. It's like, I just don't see how Zonovan Knight doesn't get a lot more work. And I think some of these other guys who people like, rightfully so, Travis Etienne, Samaje Perine, etc., Josh Jacobs coming off of this 10 million touches and 10 million yards, and now like he's a game time decision. Are they going to load him up with 30 touches? I just find those kind of guys with only upside like Zonovan and the other guys that are maybe a little more popular with only downside. Is there any other running backs that I'm missing that you want to bring up, etc.? And or if you agree, disagree with kind of the thesis around some of those other guys?
Yeah, I think it's a good week to switch things up. I really like Christian McCaffrey. I think is being totally overlooked and I think this entire San Francisco Miami game is being overlooked. So I do like, if you want to spend up, I like spending up on Christian McCaffrey,
yep,
Derrick Henry. Probably my most fun stack correlation of the day is Derrick Henry and AJ Brown. And just,
I like it
because I think it's something that matches up well with the defenses. And obviously would not shock you to see like Derrick Henry score 3 touchdowns or AJ Brown to score 3 touchdowns with the revenge narrative. So it makes it a fun stack. Then also the Chargers and Raiders game. I think it's a great game to stack with like Austin Eckler and Josh Jacobs. You can play like 2 running backs from the same game.
Mm-hmm.
Play some of either the cheaper wide receivers, depending on the site and depending on the salary you've got left over from the rest of your lineup. I like the idea of like pairing Jacobs and Eckler, or like Eckler and Devontae Adams, or using like a Josh Palmer with Jacobs, or like using multiple pieces from that game, but it centers around the running backs.
Isn't it kind of funny though that game is like not going to be super chalky? It's like 2 of the worst defenses in the NFL, 2 good to definitely above average offenses, and nobody's running away with ownership. We have 2 Raiders popping a little bit on FanDuel, and I just want to make it clear to we have had multiple people ask. Yes, I will absolutely show DraftKings. We just happen to be starting to talk about FanDuel, and of course they're a sponsor of the show. But yeah, we're gonna show both sites projections, so don't you worry, and keep your questions coming. I promise I'm not missing them. I'm not ignoring them. Just trying to get through a little bit of the running back talk before we get to all of these questions. But again, this game is another good thesis to me. It's like, on how many weeks would we be like, oh God, Josh Jacobs is going to be 40% in this spot, right? Foster Moreau, God, we got to, or do we have to play Foster Moreau as the punt tight end again? Oh my gosh, Mike Williams is out. What are we doing with Josh Palmer, right? DeAndre Carter goes for like 20 something fantasy points last week. Sub 4K on DraftKings, probably not really a FanDuel play, but sub 4K on DraftKings. And like, does anybody give a shit about DeAndre Carter? No, because there's just a lot of other plays. But like on some weeks, we would be like, "Are you playing DeAndre Carter in cash?" I don't play cash anymore. But like we would be having these conversations, and just because, like you said, there's more games, I definitely think that's part of it. And like we removed the Panthers. Nobody plays Panthers anyway. But every once in a while, Foreman and DJ Moore, and the Cardinals, and it's like, okay, Hopkins, like nobody plays those guys anyway, so we have like all the good players and a lot of fun games on the slate. And so I like this game. I like this game a lot. I want to really quick polish up running back. I'm gonna throw another kind of tournament flyer. I'll throw 2 out there. Aaron Jones is really interesting to me. The Packers have obviously not been great this year. For anybody that's been living under a rock, But Aaron Jones is a pass-catching running back. Definitely prefer him a little bit more on DraftKings, who is in this timeshare that people are scared of with A.J. Dillon. But we've seen every year over the course of his career, he's just really good at football, and he's really high upside, and he pops for those random 30, 40-point games where he scores 3 or 4 touchdowns, right? He catches a long touchdown. He runs a long touchdown in. And I don't think people are understanding how bad the Bears defense is. I don't think that it's being factored in. I think people are more scared of the fact that the Packers are like not very fun on offense anymore, and not thinking about the fact that this is still, I know it's been ugly. This is still Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones. Christian Watson is coming along. If you really want to punt a tight end, there's a punt, they have a cheap tight end over there. I think that the Packers are a really good target in tournaments today because nobody is really particularly interested in them. And the Bears might now have the worst defense in the NFL. Then the only other one that I think the only other one I wanted to bring up was Ken Walker, who is playing the Rams, and Aaron Donald is missing today, along with, all their good players. Matthew Stafford's on IR, Cooper Kupp's on IR, Aaron Donald's out, Allen Robinson's on IR. The Rams are basically laying over and dying. They're punting off the season. And Ken Walker is the type of running back that, if you load him up with 25 carries, we might get 150 and 3. Right? He's not Nick Chubb, but he's like this kind of baby version of that you'll see some big runs. You see a lot of high upside. There was the stretch for a month where he was popping 70-yard touchdowns every single week. If he did that today and they dominated the Rams, I would not be surprised. And he's just kind of, a victim of the slate where people aren't really getting to him. Anybody else that we missed at running back?
No, I just want to note on the Kenneth Walker thing, like part of the reason that he's not that popular this week, whereas he has been in previous weeks, is his salary has gone all the way from $4,700 to $7,000. But his salary has gone from $4,700 to $7,000 because he's doing really well every single week. So his salary goes up. And that's a reason why you want to play a guy, not necessarily why you want to avoid him. And like 7,000 is not like totally prohibitive, for a running back on this slate. So yeah, I think that's a great call.
Was there anybody else that we missed that you're interested in playing at running back?
I think on FanDuel, like the Rams running back is Kyron Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 5,500. That's about as cheap as you can get, other than Jerick McKinnon, for a running back. So maybe a guy, I think maybe more of a FanDuel play just because of the salary than DraftKings.
Yeah, they boosted up. DraftKings says say whatever you want about it. It's good, it's bad. Personal opinion. They boosted up some of those cheap guys, on DraftKings to the point where you're not getting, I'm not saying Travis Etienne is a guy I'm crazy excited about today, but like Travis Etienne against the Lions is 6,400, and then you're getting the floor of usable running backs somewhere in the 5K range. It's like, do I want to play a part-time Rams running back on DraftKings, for 1,000 less? I don't know, but like on FanDuel, it's like, well, we have guys 8K and above, and then you have 5,500. Like if you're getting $3,000, that's how you get Travis Kelce and those guys into your lineup. It's a little bit of a different story on DraftKings, which it didn't used to be that way, but it is now. I'm going to hit some questions, and then we're going to move on to a little quarterback talk. First, if you're sports betting today, I'm going to pat myself on the back because I and a lot of people here at RotoGrinders are a part of the Scores and Odds team putting out betting picks for you at scoresandodds.com. If you're a subscriber, you get access to literally every single sports betting pick from just an insane amount of smart people. I personally profit by using these guys' picks in, especially in like sports that I don't follow, or maybe I don't have time that day. Every single pick on Scores and Odds comes with like a write-up of here's the reason, the rationale behind this pick. There's plenty out there for the NFL slate today. So if you're, a recreational bettor or a very serious bettor, you can get insights from a lot of really smart people that are putting out, perfectly like well-researched reasons as to why there are lots of player props. I do lots of player props, but sides, totals, everything is out there across all sports. Like I'm putting out a ton of college basketball stuff. Actually, if you're into the college basketball space, that's been going really well. The college football guys are still crushing it as we head towards playoff season. And NFL, I actually think NFL right now is a really good time to be in the sports betting streets. I think it's early in the season is fine, and then it kind of not dies out, but there's a stretch where it's kind of the market starts to get efficient. And now we're in this, I called it on our Friday show, this like second wave of chaos, right? The season starts out and we're like, holy cow, the Seahawks are good. Geno Smith, is amazing. Russell Wilson sucks. The Rams suck. And we're like, whoa, what just happened? Now down the stretch, we're going to get this second wave of chaos. And I think it's a perfect time to start to dive back in. So go to scoresandodds.com, subscribe to that. And I couldn't recommend it enough. I promise it's not just a company thing. I use it literally every day of my life, and it has helped. Even when I have bad DFS weeks, it has helped keep the bank account alive. Let's hit some questions. Staying on some of the running backs. Thoughts on Latavius Murray? My thought is I don't think I want a Bronco today. I did build some teams that were in the punt wide receiver range, and Kendall Hinton was one of the better projecting wide receivers, but that just made me really sick to my stomach, and I scrapped the team. Maybe Dulcich tight end is just bad, but are you interested in Murray? Mike Boone is back, so I just don't see it.
It's hard to get there. There's always a thought, oh, what if this guy puts up multiple touchdowns, 2-3 touchdowns? But when was the last time the Broncos scored 3 touchdowns?
They don't even score it. Yeah. The offense needs to score.
There's so many other running backs that I would get to on any at all like salary ranges. That it's tough to get to Latavius Murray.
I agree. Obviously, this is a DFS show, but I will tell you I have this personal decision myself, Eugene, and I'm playing Zonovan Knight over Raheem Mostert today in season long. I talked about the draft. I pulled up the DK stuff. What do you think of Ty Johnson and James Robinson? I think we talked a little bit about that kind of in the Zonovan Knight. You're not sprinkling them in at all. You're just focusing on Zonovan.
No, I'm just focused on Zonovan because I would say that the goal there is that it's not as much of a timeshare as they're saying, right? Like, so the coach is saying, well, everybody's going to see work. But, like, sure, there's no situation no situation. But, like, most of the time, there's multiple running backs from the team seeing work. So when the coach says, we're gonna have a handful of guys that see work. Well, that doesn't tell you anything. Like, I would hope that they're excited about Bam Knight so that they're going to play him more. But like, if it's a true timeshare, like, I don't see like Ty Johnson or James Robinson get there. I think it says something that Knight was active over James Robinson last week. Like, that seems to be the pecking order. So I would go with that.
Totally agree. What is the ownership on Aaron Jones? I think it showed somewhere around 10% on FanDuel. Sorry, I moved over to DraftKings, and we're down similar. So let's just call it 10% ish on both sites. And I mean, like I said, I just think that the Packers overall are under-owned given this matchup. The Bears, in my personal opinion, they even lost Eddie Jackson, one of their actually only good players on defense. They traded guys away. Guys have gotten hurt. And then their best safety got hurt last week. I just think the Packers are I can't tell you who it is. We'll talk a little bit about a wide receiver or two here in a minute. But Aaron Jones is definitely probably the prime candidate on the Packers, and the ownership is really low. Not a question, but a comment of fade Jacobs and play Devontae Adams. Look, I am not the world's biggest Josh Jacobs fan, even though he keeps dunking on me every single week, and I love Devontae Adams. We on the show, John and I, have had a lot of success with Devontae Adams, and so you're not going to get me a ton of pushback there. I know I'm not a super hand in the dirt guy, but Alan wants to know if Sauce Gardner, rookie cornerback from the Jets, is going to shadow Justin Jefferson. And somebody in the comments did mention this, but I also read this exact same thing. Not that it matters. Justin Jefferson, we get the shadow thing wrong sometimes. Sauce is great. He's not Darrelle Revis. Justin Jefferson is probably the best wide receiver in the NFL. People will say, oh, you can't play Justin Jefferson in this tough matchup. It's a tougher matchup for Sauce. Like, Sauce is now having to guard the best wide receiver in the NFL. He's a rookie. He's really good, but like, let's not get out over our skis on, okay, I can't play the best wide receiver in the NFL because of this rookie corner. However, to answer the question, Jefferson moves around so much, including into the slot, and Sauce is not going to follow him there. So I would not be worried about Justin Jefferson, basically. If you're worried about it, it's just like the Jets are good. He's expensive. I have other guys I like, but I would not be worried about Sauce specifically. Go ahead.
Yeah, just two things. I do the Friday show with James to win. He had a thing on the Jets defense against Justin Jefferson that they could end up giving a bunch of receptions underneath to Jefferson, and they don't the Jets don't care if they give up a bunch of receptions as long as he doesn't score. But we actually do care, especially on nights. So that's a thing to keep in mind, is that the kind of defense they play could end up giving up a bunch of receptions to Justin Jefferson, and then he could end up getting a touchdown anyway. And then another thing that JM brought up, just regarding Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams, was I think one of them has gone for at least 30 points every single game this season. He actually brought that up last week before the Josh Jacobs explosion as an argument to play Josh Jacobs when nobody was. That, there's a really strong, you would have made a ton of money this year just making sure you had at least one of Devontae Adams or Josh Jacobs in your lineup. And even when the one that goes for 30, usually the other one has at least 20. So they're two of the star players in fantasy football this year.
Amazing. And they play the Chargers today, which is one of the better matchups in the league. And there's a little bit of ownership on either of them. But again, that point that JM made that you just brought up is not everything, right? It's still only 12 weeks or whatever, but it also makes sense. They don't have any other wide receivers. Mac Hollins is getting 9 targets a week. I kind of like Mac Hollins, but let's be real about real NFL football. You're not winning a bunch of games if you need to, pummel targets to Mac Hollins. Foster Moreau is fine. He's not Darren Waller. Keelan Cole is playing a bunch of snaps. Zamir White hasn't proven to be able to do anything. They don't have anyone else. But they have a reasonable enough play caller and a reasonable enough quarterback. And they play a bunch of bad defenses. So it makes sense. It's either going to be they're either going to suck like they did against the Saints when I went all in Raiders that week. They scored 0 points. They didn't even make it to midfield. That's unbelievable. But they're either going to literally suck that bad, because you do run that risk, right, when you're funneling targets to Keelan Cole. But if they don't suck, it's two guys. Maybe a sprinkle of Mac Hollins and a sprinkle of Foster Moreau, who I do like. I saw the question. I'm not ignoring the Mac Hollins question. But again, why are these guys not super popular? Josh Jacobs is facing the Chargers. We play everyone against the Chargers. I think you and I did the Chargers-Browns game, and we were like, why is Nick Chubb 9% against the Chargers? He didn't blow the slate up. He scored 28 or something like that. But he ran for 160 yards. He just didn't get all the touchdowns. And it's that's the same thing as Josh Jacobs today. And it's the same thing as Josh Jacobs last week. He's hurt, right? He's questionable. So you're he just had that big game. He's banged up, whatever. But he was banged up last week. And he had 300 yards. So what's the difference? They're playing for their lives. They're playing for the playoffs. They're not out of the playoffs. Josh McDaniels, this has been a disaster season, and he's trying to win every game he can. So he's going to load those two up. I really like them in tournaments. I will touch on the Mac Hollins thing, and then I want to see if you're playing any of the other Raiders, Foster Moreau and Mac Hollins, because I think they're all pretty good plays. But somebody asked, am I still on Mac Hollins? A little less than I was on the Friday show. I do the Friday show with the player profiler guys, and we were very into Mac Hollins because we're very into that game, including Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. But here's the question from Donnie. He's playing a lot of him and other to pivot as a pivot down there at 4,600 on DraftKings. I'm just a smidge lower than I was because I have some other guys, which we'll get to, that I'm pretty pumped for down there. But I still think he's a really good play, and it has a lot to do with the Raiders. Again, that the Raiders offense is good. They only got 2 dudes, so if it ain't Devontae, somebody's got to catch some passes, and the matchup is really good. Are you playing any Mac, any Foster Moreau? I know you're interested in that game.
Yeah, I think they're good for the price. So they're guys I don't mind playing, and there's some of the value pieces that make me comfortable playing some of the higher priced guys. It is a little bit tough. So there is, I guess, some injury news in Houston, with Brandon Cooks not playing. Yep. And that opens up a couple of really cheap wide receivers, in Nico Collins, Chris Moore. I'm not super excited about them, but Nico Collins in particular is a guy that for his price now, he's probably mispriced. So that I probably prefer Nico Collins over Mac Hollins. But I think you can play either of them, and I think Nico Collins is going to end up with much higher ownership. So, so Matt Collins is a good pivot.
Yep, I totally agree. I would project Nico for more targets, but it's really not that much more. And I would project the Raiders to score a lot more points than the Texans. And then, like you said, Mac's going to be lower owned. So that's kind of the thesis for Mac, really, as a pivot to anybody down there. He's not going to project quite as well. He does have a ceiling. It's just, how does he fit in that? Right. I'm not necessarily like hunting down Mac Hollins one-offs in tournaments. He's not that kind of a play, but there's definitely a purpose for Mac Hollins today on certain teams. We're doing all the analysis, both sites. Bring the questions. If there's anything we're not hitting on DraftKings or FanDuel, please feel free to ask. I promise we will cover it. This is actually a good question. Have you thought about this? What happens if Josh Jacobs doesn't play? I think we're all expecting he does, but like, what, in that scenario that he doesn't play, is it Zamir White? Is it Abdullah? Are you just ignoring the situation, or have you thought about this one at all?
I haven't. I really think Jacobs is going to play. I don't think there's any reason to think that. Like, I think somebody's put in the chat something about Schefter saying that he's going to play. Like, there's player props out there. It's something I kind of look to, because like Vegas tends not to put out player props unless they're pretty confident the guy's going to play. I think there's already player props out there for Jacobs. Like, if Jacobs doesn't play, I'd be really surprised. I would look at the backup running backs for the Raiders, but I just don't think it's a situation we're going to get into. And then that's a reason that you game stack as well. So that like if Jacobs does end up sitting, then hopefully you've got multiple pieces from the 4 p.m. games that you can kind of play around with. And there are, for the first time in a while, we've got 4 p.m. games, and they're some of the most appealing games on the slate. So if Jacobs does end up sitting, then and you're stuck, then you might have to go to one of the Raiders backup running backs. But like, I looked to go to Samaje Perine before I maybe went to one of the Raiders backups like Zamir White or Abdullah, just because we don't know what the backfield would break out to, So I would probably go to Perine before I went to the Raiders backups, but I hope it's not a situation we get into.
I also hope this slate has too many guys I want to play. Please don't tempt me with a 4K Zamir White or whatever. If something happens, those are the kind of guys I get sucked into, admittedly, particularly in a good matchup or whatever. But yeah, I don't think we have to worry about it. It is wild. We started the top of the show with like how many plays there being more games and all that kind of stuff. The volume of questions about just so many different guys, I think backs up that sentiment here. Cubs asks, any chance Tyler Higbee has a good game? I mean, technically there's always a chance someone has a good game, but I'm going to just go ahead and go with no on this one. He's losing snaps because he's been hurt. He's kind of a veteran piece to a tanking team, and they've actually been keeping him into block a little bit more. He is a pretty good blocker. The offensive line stinks and the offense stinks. And so I think he's an X out for me. We talked about some of the other guys that maybe I don't love, but I'm not Xing out. Tyler Higbee is an X out for me. Are you playing any of him?
Yeah, I'm just not getting him. I mean, he was a guy that I thought I'd be playing a lot more of, and the Rams season is just falling apart. And like when Cooper Kupp is there and Matthew Stafford's there, then Tyler Higbee's a great tight end option. Now, like, I don't, is it John Wolford? No, that doesn't pique my interest. I like the idea, and you kind of touched on it that like some of these veterans with the Rams are banged up, and so they're not going to run them out there. Like they want to see what they've got, like a Kyron Williams and maybe even a Cam Akers, but they don't necessarily want to like they want at this point. The thought process is probably let's get Tyler Higbee ready for next year.
Yeah, 100%. And his career's not far from over. He's 31, I believe. He played his lowest snap share last week and got 0 targets. I know it was Bryce Perkins instead of John Wolford, but there's not a ton of tight ends. But I just think if we're reading the tea leaves, I would rather go to like Foster Moreau down there. I really, really like Tyler Conklin. I'm going to lose so much money on the Jets today. We will get to that as well. But I like all of the Jets. Tyler Conklin's probably my favorite punt tight end. I would play big Gucci Price. Asked about specifically those two guys. Do you have a preference between Foster Moreau and Tyler Conklin at tight end?
I think I'm getting to more Foster Moreau, but I like them about the same, and I think Moreau is more expensive. I think you're probably if you're thinking about it, you might be thinking about it more on DraftKings and on FanDuel.
Yep.
Where Moreau is like 3,600 and Conklin's 3,100. I like them both for those prices. I prefer Moreau if I have the money, but I don't mind if there's somebody else that I'm trying to get with that extra 500. I don't want Conklin.
Yep, I agree. You will see. I understand why the Tyler Higbee projection is here, what it is. I do a little. I pull in the projections and do a little tweaking. So I don't always have the latest in my kind of own personal type stuff, but I don't have Tyler Higbee projected for 10 points. Let's just say that. And I have Tyler Conklin projected for a little bit more. Him and Foster Moreau are about pretty similar. So I think they're very similar plays. Same thing in the lineups. They both make sense. If you absolutely, if it's a one-off, you absolutely need the 500 on DraftKings. I'm totally fine doing Conklin, but they're pretty similar guys. I agree with this. We should make an all Moore lineup. The Panthers need to come off bye so we get DJ Moore in there, and we could literally probably make an all Moore lineup. I agree. I do like all these guys. We'll get to Sky too. We'll get to Sky and we'll get to Elijah. We touched on Chris Moore,
Chris, Sky, and then Elijah.
Yep, 100%. Do you prefer? Kent asks about Zonovan, Bam Knight, and Kyron Williams, two guys you brought up. I assume you prefer Zonovan.
Yeah, I do. I prefer Zonovan. I'm hoping that he gets a little bit more work than maybe the coach speak indicates. I think the offense as a overall is in a much better matchup. So yeah, prefer Knight. Yep.
I agree. If we missed any, by the way, I don't think we missed any inactives, but it was just Mr. Richard posted that Gibson is active, and I just wanted to make sure. Guys, feel free to correct me. It's hard to keep track, especially as the season we get late into the season, trying to keep track of every inactive and active when we go live, right when they start to come out. So feel free to correct me. Jedi Girl, I'll cover the Packers question since I clearly can't stop talking about the Packers. Back to the pack and low ownership on their value. Do you like Randall Cobb? I will say I'm a Christian Watson guy. He's actually a great kind of just an example of some of the guys I'm really interested in today, where all this dude has done. I understand it's like a lot of touchdowns, right? It's like a lot of unsustainable level of touchdowns, but like, dude, that's like what Aaron Rodgers does. We can ignore the breakout young second round pick wide receiver who just keeps scoring, 20, 30, fantasy points every single week at a reasonable price and reasonable ownership. You see 15% on DraftKings and 13% on FanDuel. I'm into Christian Watson today. Again, I talked about Aaron Jones and the Bears matchup. I just think the Packers are smashes. I haven't made a rule yet. One Packer on a team, mostly because I really only want to play Christian Watson and Aaron Jones. If there were more, maybe it would be there's another Moore. They don't have a Moore, but if they had DJ Moore, I would be jamming them. I just Christian Watson, I don't think his ownership is going to run away from us. I don't think that this ownership is like, one of those things where, he projects for 15%, but we flip over the cards and he's 35. I don't think that that's going to be the case, given the other options and given the fact that nobody's really stacking the Packers anyway. And so I would just find the money for Christian Watson. To me, he's the guy who can break the slate. I don't believe that Randall Cobb can. Maybe I'll be wrong, but that's my thoughts on the Packers.
Yeah, I think if you're doing like a Packers, like if you're doing an Aaron Rodgers team, then like feel free to play like Cobb and Watson, which is I think something I'm doing in one of my lineups out of 150. But
there we go.
It's run it back with Chase Claypool and hope that game goes berserk. But and same thing, and actually you could put in Fields instead of Aaron Rodgers there, and then you'd have to find Sauer somewhere else. But I agree. Actually, I think that's a game that's being completely overlooked. And when I was thinking about it this morning, that was one of the thoughts. Is like we got Justin Fields back, and like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers hasn't gone over 20. I think he's gone over 20 fantasy points once, and it was like 20.1 or something. So he's had a bad season, but he's the price reflects that. And if you like. At the end of today, again, if you look back, this was the week that Aaron Rodgers threw for 4 touchdowns, it wouldn't be a shock.
No, he is an absolutely a great example of. It's like the day they're ironically in the same game. It's like the David Montgomery of quarterbacks. If anybody's ever, if the field is ever getting to Aaron Rodgers at a more than like average rate, I'm just not interested because of exactly what you said. He's just not that guy. He's just not that fantasy guy, particularly without Devontae Adams. But now he's playing the Bears. It's like everyone lights this defense up. Aaron Rodgers has been having a miserable season. If he came out and threw for 304 today, I don't think anyone should be surprised, but the ownership does not reflect that at all. And he's cheap. I like the cheap quarterbacks today, which sounds counterintuitive. I do want to talk about the Chiefs-Bengals game after this because we are running a little low on time and we probably should discuss, the best game of the day. But Aaron Rodgers isn't like you can get right. Stack the Packers, run it back with Chase Claypool or David Montgomery, or Cole Kmet if you want to use the tight end. It's all cheap. You want Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Travis Kelce, Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, Eckler, McCaffrey. Do you want those guys? These types of lineup constructions are how you get to it. Aaron Rodgers to Christian Watson. You can bring along Randall Cobb if you want, right? With Chase Claypool, it's like that's free. Like that is so cheap. You have all the money to get everyone you want, and it's an actual high upside game stack. The other one I like, I promise I won't belabor it, is the Jets. The Jets. Mike White is not some superstar quarterback, but they have so much talent on offense and a pretty smart coaching staff. I mean, Garrett Wilson is basically a star already. Elijah Moore proved last year he could be a star. Corey Davis is a reasonable enough third, like Corey Davis is your third wide receiver. That's pretty good. We like Tyler Conklin, I think, is an above average NFL tight end. The run game, they don't have Brees and Michael Carter, but I think the run game is totally fine. Mike White just had to be competent last week. Like, take the snap, get it to your superstars. And he did that. And look what happened. It was also against the Bears. Ironically, I really like him today as a punt quarterback. Like, stack him with Garrett Wilson or Elijah Moore or Tyler Conklin or a couple. Bring it back with Justin Jefferson or TJ Hawkinson or Dalvin Cook or something like that. You also don't have to force a bring back, but you want to get these superstars into your lineup. Those kinds of builds are really fun to me today. I'm going to be playing a lot of them. Actually, I'm not going to be playing a lot of like Mahomes, but I'm still going to have like Chiefs, but I'm going to be playing these kind of unique punt stacks, if you will. Go ahead.
I think you got to be aware of like price differences, but that's one of my favorite stacks on DraftKings is the Jets Minnesota game. Like
same,
like because Mike White, Bam Knight, and Garrett Wilson allow you to put in Justin Jefferson, and then you're just hoping that game goes over its point total. It's like really cheap on DraftKings. On FanDuel, my equivalent of that is actually got more of a top shelf, like the Miami and San Francisco game. Like the guys are much more appealingly priced. Like Deebo Samuel is like 6,800 on FanDuel. I love the idea of like stacking that game, and it's surprisingly affordable on FanDuel. Definitely.
Really happy you brought up the two sites because that is 100% true. The best I like to do like some point per dollar, value rated stacks and game stacks and stuff too. Look through that. And on FanDuel, definitely the Jets and stuff are not quite to that level. The pricing differences this year are wild between the two sites, by the way. But Mike White, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Tyler Conklin, Zonovan, the whole Jets project. Basically, every Jet projects for me, like when I factor in some stacking stuff, as by far the best value team to stack on DraftKings. It's actually not particularly close. They're actually followed up by the Packers, who we just talked about. But then, the Vikings are not necessarily the best value, but when you have the best value and they're facing this other team with this superstar wide receiver or tight end that's appealing, right? It all fits together. So I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to do it. I'm literally considering 100% Mike White teams on DraftKings, just to give me my 25 points and pray no quarterback blows away the field, and then I can get the good quarterbacks weapons, and hopefully that it's like we didn't used to play Aaron Rodgers, we would just play Devontae Adams. If I can have that thesis come through on my best value stack today. That is it for me with the Jets. Let's talk about that Chiefs game, though. and make sure we don't miss anything, because they do have the Chiefs are fascinating to me. We talked P. Ryan a lot. On the Bengals side, I really like Jamar Chase, but I don't want to ignore T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Hayden Hurst, definitely not Joe Burrow. How are you kind of approaching this game? Because it's one of those weird games where it's the most exciting game to me, but it's a little tougher to pin down on exactly who we want to play.
Yeah, it's a really tough game to stack because of the salaries, and so I have more pieces of that game in other lineups than I do stacks of that game, which is not always the case with the highest point total game of the week. But that game has to score so many points to pay off the salary. So I know it has the highest point total of the week. I think it's 52. Yeah, 52 and a half.
Yep.
It's got it has to go for 60 something, to even be paying off the median projections. So yeah, I don't know. I like stacking other games more, but obviously that the game could go nuts. And it's easier to stack on FanDuel, where the prices are a little bit more accommodating. But you're still if you're stacking either of the quarterbacks from that game with multiple receivers and a run back, you're using someone really cheap. You're using a Justin Watson or a Sky Moore. And I don't mind that, but those are pieces that could get you very few points, a 0. And then you got the opportunity cost of a roster spot there. So it's a tough game to stack.
100%. And I like those kinds of guys. Somebody asked me yesterday, I was like, this is that rookie breakout season. I am excited for Sky Moore. I am excited for Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, I know shocker, he's not getting by anyone. He's probably the best point per dollar wide receiver on the slate. But this is the time where Amon-Ra St. Brown last year went from this 5K wide receiver or cheaper into the superstar that we know him as today. I remember at the DraftKings final last week, I played Amon-Ra, one of the few things I did right. And he was 5,500 and low owned because it was what are we, a Lions wide receiver? They suck. Who is this 4th round guy? Whatever. And it was Cardi, had him projected as the second highest scoring wide receiver on the whole slate, but people hadn't bought in yet because it was this new thing. You know what I mean? He's breaking out. It's fluky or whatever. I want to get in on these guys as the season gets into this kind of second wave of chaos. Sky Moore is one of those guys. His snap share has gone up basically 10% every single week. And it's will that continue? I have no idea. Maybe if he stops fumbling punt returns, he might actually get some more snaps. But I just want to be there before it happens. But when he gets 75% of snaps and he keeps earning targets like he's earning it, he's a smash. But to your point, if he doesn't get any more snaps, he really has no upside. You cannot break a slate playing 20 snaps. It just can't happen. He ran 13 routes or something last week. I mean, I don't remember the exact number, but it's not a lot. You need to run routes. And so it's that total balancing act of, I see the upside, but I see the fact that I don't know, is he even going to play? It's one thing to not get targets, to not score fantasy points and run routes. That's the MVS, the wind sprinter. But to not be out there is impossible because you just never have any outs to getting there. So it's very difficult. Obviously we like the game. What is there to say? It's Chiefs, Bengals. Jamar Chase is definitely one of my favorite tournament wide receivers, but to your point, it's a very difficult game to stack. If you had to ballpark an exposure on this game, who are your priorities? How many stacks are you getting to? Is it P. Ryan? Is it Kelsey? What are you thinking about this game, just to put a bow on it?
I think my highest owned player from the game will be P. Ryan, but it's more about the value. And my P. Ryan rosters then are going to be more likely to be stacks from other means. So and it's if I end up at 6,000 on DraftKings in one of my other game stacks, then I'm going to play Samaje Perine. I'm hoping the Bengals are running the ball a lot, and he's scoring and using up the clock from that game. I don't mind any, like you said, I like Jarek McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco as value running back options, but more for large field tournament type things. If you have the money to spend at tight end, obviously I like Travis Kelce, but I'm probably going to end up a little bit under the field on Joe Burrow. I don't mind going the other way either, and like playing like Patrick Mahomes, playing like Sky Moore. I mean, I'm going to have a lot of Patrick Mahomes. Because I actually don't think he's going to be that highly owned. Because I think if people want to stack this game, I think they're going to go with Burrow.
Yep.
I think that's a little bit of a mistake. And like, yeah, like if I'm playing Mahomes, then I'm probably having to play like a Sky Moore or Justin Watson, somebody that like makes me feel uncomfortable. So I think it's great for like super large field entries. But I don't. It's not something I necessarily want to do in like cash or even like single entry.
Yep, I totally agree. I definitely didn't want it to sound like we're not into this game or into stacking this game. Definitely am. I like the Mahomes take because I agree. It's like people are going to view them the same, right? People are just going to say they're both quarterbacks in this game. They both have, 40-point upside or whatever. Why the heck would I pay that much more for Patrick Mahomes when I can play Joe Burrow? It's like, well, that's where the Pirine thing fits, right? You play Pirine and the Mahomes side of things. It's like, well, if Pirine gets the touchdowns, you're hoping it's not passing, obviously. But if Pirine gets rushing, he pulls a Jamal Williams, gets the 3 1-yard rushing TDs, and you get the Mahomes scoring all the touchdowns, which Mahomes scores all the touchdowns for the Chiefs every week. That's how you win in that game. I will say the Travis Kelce Pirine one makes a lot of sense to me because it's like, again, it's kind of that game script proof thing. It's like no matter who's winning, if it's close, they're winning. The Chiefs are up by 40, whatever. Pirine can catch a bunch of checkdowns, or if God forbid, if the Chiefs are playing catch up, Kelce's just going to blow away the tight end field. So I really like that one. Before we get out of here and pass it over to the crunch time folks, we do it every week. I'm sure you're already prepared. What is the conviction play of this slate? What do you have to play in tournaments? Your number one priority to take down all the big bucks here in week 13 on a loaded slate. We talked about like a million guys today, but what's the number one conviction you have?
So yeah, I already mentioned it, but at the top of the show, but it was the first thing on my mind. It's stunning to me that Nick Chubb is taking on the worst rushing defense in the league, and it's not, people aren't going to be playing him. It's surprising to me that the Browns have the best chances of touchdown of any defense in the in the week, and people aren't going to probably gonna have 1% ownership because everyone's got to play Dameon Pierce, Nico Collins, and like Chris Moore, and the Steelers.
And people love the Steelers on DraftKings. Yep.
Yeah. So one correlation to win it all, maybe like Nick Chubb and the Browns defense.
One correlation to win it all. I'm going to steal that moving forward. By the way, I love that. I'm going to piggyback on that.
Wave of chaos.
Yeah.
Big that.
Yeah. How do you get Nick Chubb and the Browns defense on your teams? It's the two offenses I think that are just criminally underowned. Garrett Wilson is not criminally underowned, but I still think he is efficient ownership. Every single Jets player is at worst efficient ownership, or more so often underowned, in my opinion. Mike White is an awesome tournament play. I don't care what anybody says. Zonovan Knight is one of the best running back plays. Garrett Wilson is arguably the best wide receiver play. I like Elijah Moore. I like Tyler Conklin. You have run backs. You don't have to run it back. The Jets and the Packers are my two convictions. You need Nick Chubb, you need a Jet, and you need a Packer at least in your tournament lineups. Those are my takes for this week. Play that however you want it. It can be all the running backs. It can be right. But those three spots, I think, are the ones for tournaments that just stand out far and away to me. So we'll see how that plays out here in about a half hour. But the crunch time guys got you guys. And is it just, TJ, Drizzy, and Luuch are on today on crunch time. If we missed your questions, thank you for all the questions. My God, that was a lot of questions to try to cover in 55 minutes or so. They got you covered here leading up to lock. Keep them coming. And we will be back. Maybe John will be back. We'll see. We will be back with GPP Final Takes in week 14 here on RotoGrinders. See you guys in a week.
What is going on, Grinders? It's Monkey Knife Fight. It's week 13, and we're talking Monkey Knife Fight 2.0. Is it more? Is it less? Let's find out. So I'm going with the full main early slate here. And look, folks, we've got two big rushing props here. One for Nick Chubb at 95.5, facing the Houston Texans, who don't look now, folks, are the worst team in the league with rushing yards. Heading over to Derrick Henry, the Eagles aren't anything to sneeze at as well in terms of their bad play against the rush this season. We've got Derrick Henry on a discount this week at 85.5. I'm taking the over on both of these guys, and let's roll this thing into more profitability another week in week 13. All right, folks, this is Chief. We've been talking Monkey Knife Fight week 13. I'll see you back here next week on Monday for Monkey Knife Fight, Monday Night Football.
What's going on, everybody? Good to be here with you guys. I'm TheLuuch here with Andre and TJ. We got a crazy week. Tough act to follow up behind Squirrel and Beimfohr. Just awesome stuff there. Great questions y'all were asking too. We appreciate that. Hit that like button. Drop us some questions in the Discord and the YouTube channel. We got a crazy slate. For some reason, this might be my favorite slate of the year with all the angles you could take. So excited to break it down with you guys. TJ Zwarych, what's going on, buddy? How are you? It was a pleasure doing the FanDuel NBA show with you the other day on what turned out to be a complete, just chaotic slate on Friday.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm ready to break this one down with you as well. This is a fun NFL slate. I'm taking a very different strategy with this one than I have on most of the slates so far this year. I'm running 100 lineups on FanDuel. I have the largest quarterback pool that I've had all year, but yet I've still managed to keep my overall pool of players under 60. So it's going to be very interesting. I got a pretty tight pool overall with a widespread pool of quarterbacks, and I'm trying to get a bunch of different full game stacks on this one.
Dre, what's going on? I got the Warren Moon jersey on. I know TJ likes Warren Moon, so hopefully my underdog Titans could figure out a way to slow down the Eagles. But I gotta say, I'm kind of feeling the AJ Brown revenge game for DFS purposes.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely feeling that a lot. So I'm trying to work right now, get a lot of AJ Brown in my lineups. But I think this is a very, really, really interesting week. I'll just like a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of different stacks, a lot of different ways, and having trouble against some spots, but that means everyone else is having trouble to get to them too. So trying to find a way where I can just get different with that and work them into my lineups.
Three of us could talk forever, so I'm going to quick run through these plugs, and then we'll go position by position pretty quickly and take some questions. You got to check out Scores and Odds, #1 place for all things sports betting. Parlay IQ is amazing. Correlates your same game parlays. It's going to change the way you look, and you're going to be betting smarter, because when you change things in your single game parlay slips on Parlay IQ, it correlates the rest of the options, which will help your decision-making process. Parlay IQ, state-of-the-art tool at scoresandodds.com. You definitely want to check it out. And, of course, the FanDuel Single Entry Series is back for NFL. Don't forget to reserve your entry in either the $5, the $33, or the $100 tier. Get in on the action for weekly and seasonal prizes. Make sure you sign up at FanDuel Sportsbook in a legal betting state as well. Without further ado, let's jump into it. TJ, you said you got a wide quarterback pool. Talk to me, like, who's towards the top of your list today?
So the guys at the top are still most of the top-end quarterbacks. It's Mahomes, Hurts, and Lamar Jackson as the three guys I'm getting the most of. That's kind of my tier 1 in the 15% range. And then from there, I'm looking at guys like Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Deshaun Watson as my tier 2. Followed by my tier 3 is the cheap guys, Jared Goff, Mike White, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Trevor Lawrence as my favorites. I am mixing in some Geno Smith and Tua Tagovailoa. The one that scares me the most there is actually Tua, just because Teron Armstead is out here for the Miami Dolphins. They're starting left tackle, and he when he went out last week, their offense just went to crap. And that's been kind of trend throughout the year, is that when he's not out there protecting Tua, their offensive line gives up a ton of sacks. He has way less times. And that still makes me not mind Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, because they can get the ball out quick. They can make some big plays, but it does make me sour a bit on Tua. So he is on the lower end of my exposure because of that Teron Armstead news. And then my favorites, if I was playing a few less lineups, the ones I'd really want to focus on, I think, would be Patrick Mahomes, and then the full Chiefs and what team are they playing? Bengals. Full Chiefs and Bengals stack. So play Samaje Perine in there, one of the Bengals receivers, and play Mahomes with 3 of his pass catchers. I like Lamar Jackson in my kind of single entry type stuff. I love a Chargers stack. And then I also like Mike White with a game stack of that game as well.
Yeah, good stuff. Dre, quarterbacks, got anything to piggyback off of TJ's thoughts there?
Yeah, I love trying to get to Tua, but it's just kind of hard. It's hard to fit that in. So that's what I've been trying to work at. But I have a couple. And I think everyone's overlooking Hurts as well here. Hurts, I think, is in a good spot too, going against your Tennessee Titans. AJ Brown narrative there too as well. They're going to want to throw the ball a lot. That's where the weakness is of that Tennessee defense is the secondary. So I think Hurts is definitely a sneaky one that I'm trying to get some exposure to, but it's really, really hard. It's just making everything work. But I really do love Justin Herbert a lot today. That's my number one quarterback today. It's really 1A, 1B between him and Joe Burrow. Those two are just, I'm well over the field on them too, trying to get as much exposure as I can to those two, and pair them with their best receivers. Keenan Allen, I think, is going to in store for a field day, and I love running it back with Devontae Adams or Josh Jacobs, if not both, are running a full game stack of it. And Joe Burrow, do we remember what happened the last time these teams met up in the regular season? I'm going to remind everyone, Joe Burrow went 30 of 39, 446 yards with 4 touchdowns. And who was the number one receiver that he had? Anyone take a guess?
Tyler Boyd.
It was Jamar Chase who went for Jamar Chase went for 11 receptions on 12 targets for 266 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then, in my opinion, the Chiefs secondary has not gotten any better. So we could be in store for another big day between those two. I like Jamar Chase a lot to pair with Joe Burrow as well as T. Higgins, but that's the stack I'm really trying to be well over the field with. And I do like Deshaun Watson, a little bit of Jimmy. Mahomes is hard to get to just because of the pass catchers, but I like him a lot too. And I'm afraid to go underweight on this Trevor Lawrence golf situation. Trying to get as much of them as I possibly can, but it's just not a priority for me when I want Herbert and Burrow a lot.
Burrow's the guy that I'm most afraid of not getting enough of. Just like the optimizer wasn't really spitting him out for me at all, and I think I ended up only with about 8 Burrow teams out of my 100 lineups, and I'm still getting a decent amount of T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but it does worry me kind of the lack of Burrow I'm getting, just because I found him very difficult to get to today. But I am still getting a ton of that game in general. I'm game stacking that one a ton. And I love the Hurts call as well. That's somebody I'm getting about double the field on today. We got 500 people watching on YouTube. Luuch is going to be looking to the NFL Crunch Time Discord for questions first here, but well, I think just based on the amount of people we got watching on YouTube, we need 150 likes before we start heading over to YouTube for questions. What do you think, Luuch?
I think that's fair, but I mean, listen, we got 20 minutes till kickoff, so let's dive into running back. And the Joe Mixon news this morning was pretty big. Josh Jacobs allegedly will play, which wasn't the biggest news. It's the Joe Mixon news, who is looking like he's out, right? So Perine becomes a really good per dollar play, good game environment, and the chalk of the running back position here. TJ, what's your Perine take? And then run down some more plays you're interested in.
I have about 70% Perine right now. I would not fault anybody for hitting the lock button today. I think he is the best running back play by a very large margin on the slate. From there, my next favorite backs on the slate are Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, Christian McCaffrey, David Montgomery, and Isaiah Pacheco. Those are all the players that I'm kind of getting in the 20%-ish range, whereas P. Ryan, I'm in the 70%-ish range. So P. Ryan isn't a tier 1 all by himself to me. And then number 2, it's Walker, Etienne, McCaffrey, Montgomery, and Pacheco. Another guy I'd throw in there, maybe in the tier 2, would be a Zonovan Knight. I think he could kind of potentially hit that list just because of how cheap he is. But the running back by committee approach they're going to run over there and the Jets does worry me a little bit. And then from a tournament standpoint, guys that I really like that aren't going to be quite as heavily owned today, Kyron Williams is somebody that I like getting to save some salary. DeAndre Swift is a shot I'm going to be taking this week. I have about 10-15% DeAndre Swift just because nobody's playing him. He has high upside. He got 8 targets last week. I like that game environment. And so I'm getting some DeAndre Swift, a little Cordero Patterson, some Jamal Williams. Miles Sanders is a guy that I really like today. And then Nick Chubb in tournaments is somebody who is incredibly difficult to get to, but I'm trying to as much as I can.
Dre, what do you got?
I'm on Zonovan Knight a lot. I think it's just smart to get well over the field. The more the ownership goes down, the more I'm going to be well over the field on him. So I think he's a fantastic play, even that because he's going to be the lead back in that committee. Let's be honest. They had a healthy scratch on Brian Robinson. That says a lot right there. I'm trying to be a little bit lower on Samaje P. Ryan. I know he's a great play, but I want more Joe Burrow. I want more of the passing game, and I know he can be working into the passing game, but P. Ryan had a big game, Joe Burrow, and did not have the big fantasy output when that happened. So I'm separating those two from playing each other. I really want a lot of David Montgomery and Aaron Jones, trying to get them both a lot here. I think they're great low-owned plays that no one's going to think about. Kenneth Walker as well against the Rams defense is going to be without goodness gracious, Aaron Donald. Thank you. I wanted to say Darnold for some reason. I would have been almost right. But and then I also like Isaiah Pacheco a little bit. Like no one's talking about that a little bit, but he's gonna be working to the passing game with this team. So I don't mind taking some shots on him. I do also want to get some Najee Harris. Like he's been running the ball a lot better recently against the Atlanta Falcons defense that sucks against the run that no one's going to play. So I think getting over on him is a good thing, as well as Derrick Henry. And no one's playing Christian McCaffrey. Why are we not playing Christian McCaffrey? Like
my second highest owned running back.
Yeah, like on DK, he's not getting the ownership he deserves. So I'm trying to get over the field on him as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But I really, really do like. I think Aaron Jones and I think Aaron Jones and David Montgomery and Kenneth Walker are really, really, really sneaky plays. And obviously, we'll have a lot of Chubb.
Yeah, I like Aaron Jones quite a bit. It should be a good game script. We've seen volume from him when they weren't like getting slaughtered through 3 quarters. So, and he's going to be involved in the pass game anyway. So I do like Aaron Jones quite a bit. Let's go on to receiver, 12:43 p.m. So we'll have enough time for questions here. This is a fun slate, guys, and there's a lot of value opening up. If I see the guy in the chat ask me about Chris Moore again, I might go crazy. But we're going to talk about all the Moores. So TJ, let's make the chat happy. Talk to me about wide receiver. Talk to me about Elijah Moore. Talk to me about Chris Moore. Talk to me about any other Moore that's on the slate because I'm running out of Moores.
I mean, you didn't say the best Moore receiver on the slate, and that's Sky Moore, who is my second highest owned receiver today. So I got Garrett Wilson. Like, it's a position that as many great higher price receivers there are that I want to get to today, I find myself saving a lot of salary. Garrett Wilson, Sky Moore, unfortunately scary because he's on a pitch count, but Jameson Williams is a guy that I'm getting to in about 10% of my lineups today. Matt Collins, Nico Collins, nice rhyme there. Guys that I just want to save some salary with. And then outside of that, I'm just playing whoever the heck is in my stack. Like, I'm not prioritizing receivers today. I'm prioritizing stacks. An individual guy I'm getting a lot of today is Amon-Ra St. Brown. But I'm looking at this and, like, AJ Brown and Devonta Smith I'm getting to a lot of because I'm getting to a lot of Hurts. Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett, Justin Jefferson as a run back in my Mike White stacks. But like for me, really, I'm just doing a ton of game stacking, and it's going to be whoever is paired with my quarterback, either on their team or on the other team.
Dre, wide receiver, give me some takes here.
Oh, I love this. Sorry, the college playoffs got released. I'm so happy that TCU's in there. But I do like Sky Moore a good amount today. I think he's a really good wide receiver today to get with. And just like wide receiver running backs, I do want to kind of spend up a little bit. I like T. Higgins a lot. I love Jamar Chase. I love A.J. Brown. I love Waddle, Tyreek Hill. But I really want to make sure I get a lot of Devontae Adams because we saw what he did week 1 against the Chargers. So if you're not trying to prioritize again like guys like Devontae Adams or at least one of these guys in the top, something's wrong. And I love also on the other side of that Keenan Allen a lot, who's not getting as much ownership as he should. And he's healthy. I think he's fully healthy now instead of dealing with that hamstring. So I love getting to him a lot today. Brandon Ayuk is one of my favorite, also sneaky low-owned wide receivers. I think it's going to be today that he's not going to get much love, especially with Deebo Samuels now being available to play. I love Mac Hollins a lot too as well. Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. I love those two. Running it back with Amon-Ra on the other side. And Terry McLaurin. Like I said, I'm going to keep saying that every single week. As long as Heineke's at quarterback, you have to play Terry McLaurin. And I think also with the Giants secondary not being as great as they once were. So I think you have to try to prioritize to get him in as much as you possibly can.
Okay. Yeah, I can't knock those calls at all. I like it. Tight end, we have Kelsey, Mark Andrews, Hawkinson. Like, is Sauce Gardner going to be on Jefferson? We didn't even mention Justin Jefferson, who's the best receiver.
I forgot. I love him today.
So let's hear some Justin Jefferson takes real quick before we go on to tight end.
Love Justin Jefferson. I'm getting to quite a bit of Mike White today, and Justin Jefferson is in basically all of those teams.
Yeah, just Justin Jefferson is just amazing. Just play that guy. He's going to eat up a lot of yards on just even when you're through in the zone. He's going to eat a lot. Get some yards and then get in the end zone. So I love him a lot today. He's going to be moved around a lot too in the slot. So I don't think you have to really worry about Sauce Gardner as long as it's not like he's like you said Darrelle Revis. He's not Darrelle Revis, so he's fine. He's an excellent play.
All right, tight end. Give it to me straight here, TJ. What's going on?
It's Kelsey and Andrews as 1A and 1B. They are my top 2 highest owned guys today. From there, I'm just looking to go cheap with a relatively tight pool. Harrison Bryant and Tyler Conklin and Gerald Everett are going to be my 3 favorite cheapies. George Kittle's somebody I'm getting to a little bit of. Hayden Hurst and Evan Ingram in stacks. And then Jordan Akins, I have 8% of for the sole purpose of you saying that you like them. I didn't look into it any other reason. I'm just trusting you, Luuch.
Oh, man, no pressure. All right, well, that's fair. At least I don't have to talk about Jordan Akins. You did it already, so I'll throw it over to Dre.
I love Hayden Hurst today. I'm getting a lot of Travis Kelce, so I love him today as well. George Kittle, I think, is still sneaky even with Debo playing, so I love him a lot. TJ Hockenson is very sneaky. He's going to get a lot of work in that middle of the field, so I think he's someone you have to really, really consider and play a lot of today. So that's really it, my main guys. I'm getting a lot of Harrison Bryant. I'm trying to honestly get a little bit less exposure to him, but it's kind of hard not to because I have some Deshaun Watson as well. But I do like also Jared Everett and Foster Monroe.
Guys, get any defense takes? Because we have about 10 minutes for questions.
Yeah.
So let's get to that defense.
Seattle. Just play Seattle. Play as much Seattle as you possibly can. And the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, I know they'll be popular, but I think they're good defenses. I think San Francisco is also a very, very, very good defensive target as well.
Same page. Those are the defenses I like. And San Francisco was the one this morning when I got that Teron Armstead news that I bumped up to get twice as much as I was before. So they're my highest owned defense now.
Okay. Yeah. Listen, I don't love it, but I don't mind paying the bare minimum for the Titans and some hand builds. I mean, the name of the game's takeaways, and you tell me. Hurts is probably gonna have a field day, but if you're hand building and you want to pay up and maximize your salary, I think if you get 7 or 8 points from a 2,200 defense, I think you're on your way. So let's get to some questions here. TJ, I got the Discord open. I'll go there first. I know you guys are keeping an eye on YouTube, so
yeah, and I'm not even going to start keeping that eye on YouTube until we get 150 likes. We got 500 people watching. Just take your little finger, slide it over, and just hit that like button for us. It does absolute wonders. We should be getting half the people doing it, so that should be 250 likes. But we just got to get at least, as soon as we get over 150 people sliding their finger over there, smashing that like button. If you're watching this on your phone, you just got to click that hide chat button, and then you're able to hit the like button and pull the chat back up. So hit the like button, then we'll look over there for questions. But until then, we got Luuch is just going to focus on that Discord.
All right, easy one. Cash game, not easy one, easy question, I should say. From Primo in the Discord. Who's your cash game quarterback today, guys? I'll ask you both for DraftKings.
Cash is probably going to be Joe Burrow.
Cash QB on DraftKings for me today. Hit me with the next question, and then I'll get you an answer. Sorry, I just had FanDuel pulled up. I just had to switch the lineup HQ.
All good. What's up, Carolina guy? Coolest guys in the biz. Thanks. We'll take that compliment. Thank you. Nicest thing anyone said about me all week. Favorite FanDuel single entry stack, TJ. How about that one?
Favorite FanDuel single entry stack? It is going to be the Chiefs, and my cash quarterback would also be Joe Burrow on DraftKings today.
Okay. Hey, Dre, what do you think about playing 3 Jaguars in DK cash? Can you do that?
Yeah, you could definitely do that, but you better be running it back with someone from Kansas City.
In cash? Yeah. Who's your Kansas City cash game play?
On what side? FanDuel?
DK.
Oh, DK? Dag. I'm going to probably say Sky. I think Sky's going to be popular than what we expect him. I think it's just been so much talk about him around the industry, so I would say him more than anybody, but it's close, honestly.
All right, FanDuel single entry question for you, TJ. Would you rather play Aaron Jones and Zay Jones or Kyron Williams and A.J. Brown?
Kyron Williams and A.J. Brown.
DK cash, Dre. Would you rather have Collins and the Commanders defense or Zay Jones and the Steelers defense?
Here for Luuch going forward, why don't you hit Dre with the tournament ones and me with the cash ones, just because I feel like I don't mind going into that mindset a little bit, and Dre's got one of the best tourney take heads around.
All right, so Nico Collins and the Commanders or Zay Jones and the Steelers?
I would go Collins and the Commanders.
Single entry tournament, Dre. We'll stick with tournament. Zay Jones or Christian Watson, straight up.
Zay Jones or Christian Watson. Give me. Oh, I love them both, but I'm gonna go Zay all day.
Bears defense or Raiders defense?
You said Bears or Raiders?
Correct.
Yeah, give me Bears. Yeah, Bears.
I got a pretty decent amount of Bears defense today, which is scary enough.
This is scary. I might not get my lineups in. I'm always down to the clock with this.
Hit me with my lineups are in. Hit me with the questions, Luuch.
All right, well, we got to pop over to the YouTube if you're willing to take some of those.
I guess so. We're still 32 likes away, so hopefully 32 people head over there, hit the like button in the meantime.
The phone's dry on the Discord, as they say, so we're going over to YouTube. You're probably a little more organized over here than me. Are you scrolled up to the top?
Yeah, so we got back to all those Moore questions and such that I feel like we've kind of covered. Sky is my personal favorite of all the Moores. Logan or Harrison Bryant for tight end and cash. I like Harrison Bryant there. But Luuch, tell us why you like Jordan Akins, because that's the next kind of question in there.
Yeah, kind of like the Brevin Jordan thing is finally kind of almost over pretty much. And Akins was productive even when he was splitting snaps. So I think it's going to be a super, super terrible pass happy game script for Houston trailing. So I think he pairs well with Nick Chubb. I wouldn't obviously force him in, but he's 2,900. So I think you're looking at least 4 to 5 targets for Akins, and you can't ask for much more there.
I agree with you there. What about Green Bay defense against Fields with that injury today? What do you guys think about them?
I actually like playing Fields, man. I mean, like, it's his non-throwing shoulder. He's going to run the football. They wouldn't take a chance with him at this point in the season if he was in super jeopardy of making things a lot worse. In my opinion, I'm not a doctor. Can't pretend to be a doctor, but I like Justin Fields today. So that's where I'm at.
I'm scared not having him, by the way.
I have none of him, and I'm afraid of it as well. But on DraftKings, I would definitely probably get a little bit of him today. Yes, reciprocity. Chris Moore, I have 100 teams. He's in 0 lineups.
Ooh.
So maybe that means he's going to have 3 touchdowns now. But on FanDuel, I got no Chris Moore. So take that for what you put.
I need. Oh gosh, this sucks. I need how many more? Sorry, I need 8 more lineups. I'm trying to just get this.
Dre, we should
Nick
just
Chubb or Josh Jacobs on DK Cash, which I know you're playing more DK over there.
Is Jacobs or who?
Or Nick Chubb.
I'm taking Nick Chubb, but you can't go wrong with either one. I mean, Nick Chubb's fully healthy as far as we know, and you get a super high total there and a positive game script. So it's Chubb for me.
I'm assuming this is a Fields lineup, but in a single entry last piece, who do you want, Komet or Claypool, Luuch?
Komet. Bet.
Komet.
I mean, barely. I mean, he's the red zone threat in my eyes.
You're the Bengals guy today, Dre, so I'm hitting this to you as you make a build. But T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, who do you like better? 1v1.
Jamar.
It's Jamar for me, too. Derrick Henry and Christian Watson or Zonovan Knight and Devontae Adams, Luuch.
I think you got to go with the ceiling of the first pair. I do.
Henry and Watson. I actually like Knight and Adams a little bit better there, I think. Do we got anything in the NFL Crunch Time Discord?
We do. What do you think about Pat Freiermuth, TJ?
He's projecting well in Cardi's projections, and I've seen him project well across the industry as well. I have none of them.
I have one more question for you from MT Red Sox. Is it crazy to not have a Casey bring back in the Cincy stack? I think it's okay if you're not going super crazy on the amount of pass catchers. You're playing 3 pass catchers in a lot of your GPP teams. Do you have bringbacks in pretty much all of them, TJ?
Yes. And so I think it is crazy to not have a run back, and I don't think you can win a large field tournament today without at least 2 or 3 pass catchers with your quarterback. I don't think I don't think a quarterback and 1 receiver is going to be winning any large field tournaments today.
Cool. Keep them coming, man. We got 3 minutes. Start wrapping up, fellas and ladies, and we'll get to as many questions as we can here at a nice pace. So fire them at me. Let's go, TJ.
Justin Fields or Mike White in a DK GPP.
Straight up, it's Fields' big price difference there, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, but the big price difference. If it's asking who I'd rather start a lineup with, I'd rather go with the Mike White side.
Right.
What do you think?
With Fields, right?
Yeah, in their primes, who you got? Hines Ward or Roddy White?
I don't know what's their DK price, but I'll take Hines Ward because he's the best blocking receiver of all time, right?
Yeah, I think it's Hines Ward there for sure. Yeah, there's nothing else on YouTube. If 18 more people could hit the like button, that would just be swell. We're 2 minutes away from lock. My hot take of the day. I got to think of a hot take. I always like ending with a hot take. Luuch, do you have a hot take? Is it Jordan Akins? Is it Justin Fields? Tell me what the hot take is.
I have one more DK Cash question, TJ, from Straw in the Discord. Would you rather have Freiermuth, Seattle defense, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Kelsey, Etienne, and Steelers defense?
Second one, Kelsey, Etienne, and Steelers defense.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Hot take, man. I have so many of them. No one's talking about DeAndre Carter, Josh Palmer. I think they're both going to get a super boost to their roles. DeAndre Carter's coming at 1%. I say DeAndre Carter goes for 25 DK points at no ownership.
I like that. I don't mind it. I got a little bit of him on FanDuel, and I do like the Chargers stack today. I think Sky Moore is going to break the slate. That's my hot take. I think Sky Moore breaks the slate. And I think Jameson Williams scores a long touchdown in his very first game for the Detroit Lions.
12:59. Hit those save buttons,
Oh boy.
including you, Dre.
Treylon Burks or Mac Hollins? That is Mac Hollins for me. What do you think?
Oh man. I think it's Burks, but it's so narrow. Like, base it on a run back or something like that. Like, I think Burks.
I
is
agree,
great.
but I like Hollins. It's Hollins for me.
I like Burks for your Hurts lineups for sure. 1 p.m. guys, we hit lock, and that was fun. That was fun. Thanks for taking over the YouTube channel. Dre, did you get everything in without any crises today?
I got everything in, but I got to make some adjustments. I want I'm running one in a 555 on DraftKings for $1 million, and I like it, but then I want to make some edits to it. So,
and I'm running 100 for the 250K to first on FanDuel today. So we both got the group chat should be fun today, comparing notes with so many lineups between the two of us today.
Well, I'm going out in northeastern PA here in my Warren Moon blue jersey for Titans Eagles. So I can't promise I'll fully behave, but I'll do my best.
Well, good luck. I'd say good luck to everyone. I hope everyone profits today on what we've talked about, especially me. Because
you guys were great insight, and to everybody tuning in, we appreciate you guys. Awesome questions. And you know what? There's always more football. We have Sunday night primetime showdown stuff. Of course, we have Monday night game as well. And we're nonstop, but let's make some money. Thank you guys for tuning in. Should we go watch?
We got basketball too. Don't forget, it's NBA Crunch Time with Tim and I later today before the NFL show with STL and Luuch. Or sorry, STL and Will. You're Luuch.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I have a show.
No, it's Will. Sorry, I was just looking back at my screen. I was looking back at my screen and I saw you, and then your name just came out.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get out of here. For TJ and Dre and producer Steve, we appreciate you guys. I'm TheLuuch. Good luck, everybody, and have a great Sunday.